Hello and welcome to another fun-filled nonsense retrospective. I'm your host as always, Rick. Joining me equally as always is Devon.
Rick, can you feel something weird wiggling in your head?
Oh, it's I wouldn't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Yeah, today we're going to be talking about Baldur's Gate 3. Specifically, we're going to be talking about Act 1. There might be a few calls forward, but they will be unintentional. But before we get too far into that, let's start with our good old time-worn tradition of the nonsense, asinine hypotheticals. And do you have one for me today?
Yeah, Baldur's Gate 3 has done something rather magical, aside from the obvious, in that it's got quite a few famous faces popping up, like Elminster and Volo, who I didn't know was famous until you told me.
Yep.
I think anyone with a cursory knowledge of D&D has heard of Elminster at least. But yes, my question is a pretty simple one. What famous D&D character would you have given a cameo role to in Baldur's Gate 3? There's no strings attached here, however, bonus points if they're a character who's actually from the Forgotten Realms and therefore can make sense.
I would possibly pick Tasha.
Okay.
Her name is pasted all over a bunch of things, and she also has another name of Igwilf as she's not the mother of demons, but she's like a demon queen, that ascended from being a human. Like, she's not technically a capital V villain, but she's not a good person. Like, she'd actually be a pretty cool character to interact with when she's not the focus of a campaign. I'm pretty sure that, like, she, Big B, and Mordenkainen were, like, player characters from Gary Gygax's original days.
They were, which is why they're not technically from the Forgotten Realms. They're from that setting.
Oh, yeah, Earth, isn't it? Yeah. Or Greyhawk or whatever. Oh,
Greyhawk,
shit.
yeah.
Okay, she's out.
In case you... anyone from D&D works. Like I said, it's just bonus points if it's from specifically Forgotten Realms. In case people are wondering, no, I'm not a bigger D&D nerd than Rick. It's just I knew I was going to ask this question, so I did a bit more research before asking it. But yeah, there's a ton of spells named after them. Gygax's original party.
Yeah. I'll just go with a little fun one then. I'll go with Cinderhild. She's a fire giant, petulant teenage daughter who decides she doesn't want to do fire giant stuff and doesn't want to take over the world. She just wants to go on a holiday, and you probably find her just like being massive and just hanging around in bars and like going to the beach and shit.
Fair enough.
But yeah, she'd be... I think she could be fun. But yeah, how about you? Same question, names reversed.
I've got two answers to this. Am I allowed to give both?
Technically, I gave two, so yes, go for it.
Okie dokie. The first answer is the answer I researched. There's a mind flayer named Lihilor. Do you know this name? I'm sure you do.
I don't know too much about...
I might also be mispronouncing it.
Yeah, I don't know too much about Mind Flayers other than A, what we find in Baldur's Gate 3 until pretty much the end of Act 2, because I've only just started this morning transitioning into Act 3, and B, a long time ago, I played Hordes of the Underdark from Neverwinter Nights 1, which had a little bit of Illithid time, where you wear a helmet to pretend to be a Illithid-friendly slaver, and your allies don't have to because they're assumed to be your slaves.
Yeah, makes sense. But yeah, Nihilor is a master spy for none other than Xanathar.
Okay.
So while I'd be tempted to say Xanathar, he lives in Waterdeep and it wouldn't make sense for him to leave that, but his spy makes sense.
Yeah, I like that.
He's also...
Like, obviously we've got Gale. Like, he leaves Waterdeep, but Xanathar doesn't have to. He's got his house. He's got his pet fish.
Yeah, which dies every other day, but we don't talk about that. But yeah, bonus points that he's a mind flayer, and it's kind of thematic for the game.
Yeah, there's actually quite a lot of renegade mind flayers. Like, any time one of them doesn't get enough psychic powers, they almost invariably start learning arcane things on their own, and that counts them as heretics, and they get ejected.
Yeah. I mean, you know, you've met what's-his-face down in the Underdark, haven't you? Oculum.
Oh yeah, Omelium, yeah.
Yeah, that's the one, sorry. Like, there's another Illithid that works for that society that's just more well-known, so I don't know why they didn't just... Well, actually, I do know why they didn't use him. Probably because people wouldn't know or care.
Yeah, and you can just, like, immediately try and kill him.
Yeah, that's kind of a problem. Like, you don't even have that option when you meet Elminster, and rightly so, for many reasons. Because, one, it doesn't make any sense, and two, I looked things up, and apparently he's level 25?
Okay, so, you can. If you try to attack him without talking to him, as in you just attack him,
Who the fuck does that except for psychopaths?
And when you do, he bursts into snow, confirming that particular one was a simulacrum.
I mean,
so
sure,
it's not even the real Elminster.
Well, fair enough, but it just doesn't make any sense to attack a random old person on the road unless, again, you're a psychopath. Which, I guess, is the theme for one of the characters, so fair enough.
Yes.
But yeah, my other answer to this was my gut answer, because I just so happen to be running a campaign literally on the Sword Coast, so of course I'm going to say Harshnag.
Mm-hmm. Yeah!
Like, if you just encounter him, I don't know if the years really mash up, but assuming you encounter him before Storm King's Thunder, he is just an adventurer at that point.
Yeah, he's tall, but he's just an adventurer.
Yeah.
Cinderhild is also from Storm King's, like, if it wasn't obvious that I talked about a giant from the Giant campaign. Yeah. But yeah, if you go down the Fire Giant path, then she's someone that you can bargain with and just let out into the universe.
Yeah, fair enough. I kind of assumed, but I didn't want to poke, because we didn't do that route in my game, so I don't internalise as much from the Fire Giant side.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, man. I could talk about Storm Kings for like 10 minutes, but let's not.
So, Rick, do you have a question for me?
Yeah, my one for you is, can you think of anything that you think is glaringly missing from Baldur's Gate 3? I'm thinking more in terms of D&D mechanics, be it a ancestry, subclass, or even a whole class.
I actually know exactly the answer to this question, because I was going to bring it up during the podcast. The thing that I hate most about Baldur's Gate 3 is you have to control the character whose skill check you want to use, and you're not playing as the party, you're just playing as whoever you have selected. So what I mean by that is, you've only got, if you're playing a D&D game, the whole party can do what they want at any time. So if you're having a negotiations, like it happens in our Storm King game, we have a rogue who's got high charisma. We usually use their charisma score whenever you're trying to convince people. It also helps that the player is a bit goofy, and likes to flavour his persuasion attempts as goofy, which just makes things more fun anyway.
Yeah, totally, absolutely.
But yeah, I'd really like. Again, I know it might not be exactly what you're looking for, but I'd like it if you were in a dialogue thing and your party member just perked up saying, "Oh, say this for religion." The only time this happens in the game that I've encountered is once, where Shadowheart tells you to take over for the torturer in the Goblin camp. That's the only instance where a party member has said, "Say this."
Yeah. Like now and again, I have people interjecting, but normally it's it's advice rather than just them actually taking over.
Yeah, that's the one thing I would change. It's not game breaking, and it certainly doesn't detract from the experience. It's the thing I would pick. So yeah,
it's one of those things. Before anybody played the game, I just advised everybody pick a charisma main character, because I know how Original Sin 2 works. If you wander too far in any direction, you're going to get kidnapped by a cutscene and you're going to have to do speech checks.
There is a alternative method of dealing with that, and that is quick save is your friend.
True, but there's a limit to how well you can roll on that. So yeah, okay, fine. You can save scum for a nat 20.
No, I'm not talking about save scum. I'm saying if you quick save after every encounter, if you go too far and you get kidnapped by a cutscene, you can then go back and be like, I'm going to avoid that area for the time being. Of course, don't get me wrong. You can just save scum rolls. It's a single player game. No one cares.
Yeah, or I'm gonna go that direction with Will in front of my party, and he's got charisma. Let's go. Just kidding. No one picks Will.
I've got Will in my party like quarter of the time.
Early game I did, and then I got more characters, and then I didn't.
I've got to be honest with you, Rick. I really like Hellish Rebuke.
Yes. So here's the deal. I've got that on my Oathbreaker, so I just got that all the time.
Sure, but my player character for my game that's actually near completion is a ranger, so my spells are interesting, but they're not the best. Kind of like Ranger on the tabletop. But let's not get sidetracked. Rick, you asked a question. I'm going to have to throw it back at you.
I'm going to go with the whole ass class of Artificer, because I think there will be more people picking Artificer than pick, say, Monk or even Druid. Like, we get 2 free Druids. Why you're not gonna make a druid player character unless well, okay, if you're blind, you don't know you get 2 free druids. But yeah, artificer is something that there are in this setting, and you find out more and more later on. Like in the city, there are lots of them.
Like
there has to be.
Even in Act 1, because the Underdark is part of Act 1, which I feel like it feels like it shouldn't be, but it is.
Yeah.
And you go into the Underdark and you meet the artificers.
Yeah, you do. Like, you can't... I feel like they added, say, the Spore Druid because of the all of the mushroom people in the Underdark. They added Githyanki because, we have Githyanki in there against Illithids. They added... what's another subclass they added that was random out of nowhere? They added the Chaos Barbarian for no fucking reason. But, like, they didn't choose to add something else that was good, like the whole Artificer. Man, I'd even take the Mystic at this point, which, okay, it was busted bent, but it's the psychic class. If there was ever a time to just play around with something like that, this is the time. But oh well, I'm sure a modder will come in with mechanics at some point. There's already a mod for an Artificer. That's the kind of thing that I can see them adding in an update anyway.
Yeah, it's one of those. Didn't you and another friend keep saying that Larian has promised new races and stuff, which I've not looked that far into it. I'm just basing that off of stuff I heard from you and another fella.
Yeah, there's at least one Azimar in the game already, so we're pretty sure that's coming. I have just fought a Githyanki who used a Undead Warlock ability, Form of Dread. So, pretty sure Undead Warlock is coming as well.
Can I just say right now, Githyanki are my least favourite thing to fight in this game.
Oh yeah, because they're all freaking rapid-fire dual-wielding spellblades.
It's not even that. I can deal with that. Like, the Gnolls early on taught me to deal with that. It's the fact that they parry fucking every turn, and they seem to parry things that shouldn't be parryable, because I swear parry should not be able to parry fucking arrow shots.
Arrows, yes. Spells are the ones that it gets my hackles up when you parry a spell, but oh well. I think it's anything with an attack roll that can use a parry on.
It shouldn't be able to parry a spell based on the fact that there are 2 ways to deal with spells: counter spell or hellish rebuke.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
and even hellish rebuke, all that can do is like break your concentration after it's cast.
Yeah, I know, but because it's on will, it's automatically the highest level spell slot, which means it's usually a one-shot kill.
Yeah. Yeah, my Minthara has I made my Minthara into a Great Old One Warlock, okay. And she's got counterspell, so she gets that on a short rest, which is great.
Yeah. Oh jeez. Okay. There was a boss fight in Act 2, and I will go into no further details than this, where there is a horde of minions. There's about 6 of them and each of them fired off 2 spells each, and it was so annoying because I had Gale and he had counterspell, and it was just, do you wish to counter? No, it's a shitty cantrip. I don't care.
Yeah. Are these the minions that also create the opportunity for something that you want to counterspell? I think it is.
I can't remember. They're usually dead by the time I focused. One fireball deals with them. That's how shitling they are. So yeah, I don't. Yeah. Well, whatever you're talking about, there's a very good possibility that they didn't have a chance to even attempt it when I played the game.
If it's the fight that I'm thinking about, I had my 4 pally, setup, so I didn't really have fireball. Well, but that's a me problem.
I like having a variety in my group. That's why sometimes I do just say fuck it and have both Will and Gale.
Sure. Yeah. Any role that you've got 2 people in is better served by both of them.
Yeah, the problem I have with Will is the problem I have with all warlocks, and I suppose that's on me because my first playthrough, which is the furthest one I'm through in, I didn't know multiclassing existed until you came down.
Sure.
So I had him as a pure warlock, and I didn't give him any sorcerer spell slots. So I don't know if that's how that works in this game, because I know Sorlock is busted on the... Well, not busted, but, nasty on the tabletop.
It was an early discovered power combo that persists to this day. Yes, it's a good combo in this as well. I made him into a Storm Sorlock, so he's got the fire bits from Infernal and electric from Storm.
Cool. But yeah, if I knew multiclassing existed, I would have turned him into a Sorlock a lot quicker. I also, again, I still haven't gone through with it because at this point everyone's level 12 and I'm like, fuck it.
Yeah. Withers exists, but yeah, you've got your build.
But it's literally like, I'm used to this now. I've worked with this for most of the game. It's gonna be done. But yeah, amazingly, two hypothetical questions have taken up nearly 20 minutes of recording time.
Yeah.
Which should give you a bit of a clue as to how long this podcast will be today.
Yeah, we also make no secret of the fact that we love this game. So yes, the game starts on the Nautiloid. You have the opportunity to recruit temporarily 2 party members, 3 if you count us. It's not really a party member; it's more of a beastie. There is a secret 4th guy, but he replaces Lae'zel if you're playing as Lae'zel. So he just joins, helps you in that fight, and then dies.
Right, so he's not really a 4th guy so much as we don't want the player to have a disadvantage if they play as Lae'zel. I'm going to assume he's another Githyanki?
Yeah, he is another Githyanki. Yeah. I don't know what happens if you play a Shart. I assume you just have 2 people for that, because I don't think another Githyanki would come and help Shart.
What they might do is, I've not played as Shadowheart. I don't want to play as any of the Origin characters. They're all fun, and I want them to have dialogue. So what I think might happen is...
That's the one big problem, really, isn't it? Yeah.
You know how you have to go into the other room if you're not a spellcaster that aces their rolls to get the rune to unlock Shadowheart's pod?
Yeah.
You know how there's that one pod that if you press the button, it instant mind flayers them?
Yeah.
Maybe if you play as Shadowheart, they become a temporary party member instead?
Maybe so. That would kind of make sense. I think the button is just there to tell you not to press buttons.
Maybe. I know that I know I pressed the button in the first room on my first playthrough and it just makes the 2 shitlings hostile.
Yeah. It's like almost every button in the game is beneficial in some way. There's only like 5 or 6 that I can think of that are not. Like the ones in Balthazar's bedroom. Like if you tug the books, all of them do something shit.
Yeah, I didn't go into his bedroom on my first playthrough, but we'll talk about that when we do Act 2.
Yeah. So yes, you go through the Nautiloid. You have your first real choice, rather than as you know, freeing Shadowheart or not is not really a choice. You kind of have to.
Not really,
because she's really helpful. Well, she's really helpful. You're not forced to, but she's helpful.
It's one of those where Lae'zel makes a compelling argument in that it's like, we have no time to lose. However, this is a video game and time is infinite at this point. So
yep. The big choice is whether or not to try and kill Commander Jalk.
Yeah, I didn't even...
Mind Flayer tells you not to bother.
Well, I didn't even... It's a video game, and we're on a tutorial section. If the game says don't bother with X, I'm not bothering with X. I also looked at his HP and went, I probably can't do that.
Yeah, apparently a bunch of people just obeyed this and let him be. I think the only time I've not managed to kill him is on Tactician.
I've not even touched Tactician, and I'm not going to. I know my limits, and I want to have fun.
But yeah, he has the thing called the Everburn Blade, which, as you might expect from the name, it's a sword that's always on fire.
I did manage to get this weapon when I played my second playthrough on Piss Babby mode, because I wanted to do evil things.
Sure.
And it was literally just for narrative purposes, so I had that on Piss Baby mode. I beat him on Piss Baby mode. Did you know that just having this sword on your back will ignite oil?
I didn't know that it ignited oil other than attacking it. Like, if you attack an oil barrel, it explodes.
It might have been a bug. It might have been a bug, because I've not played that playthrough since, things still have not been fixed for other things. But when I played with it and I had it on my back, I sent Lae'zel, because of course I gave it to Lae'zel, over a patch of oil, and as soon as she stepped foot on it, it just lit up. So again, it might have been a bug at the time.
Did she fall?
No, she didn't fall. She was just walking.
Fair. Because I'm pretty sure if you get grease cast on you, then that will make it explode.
Yeah, it wasn't grease. It was a puddle of oil on the floor. I can't remember the context. There's a fucking room somewhere that has oil everywhere.
Sure. But yeah, after the Nautiloid, you get mysteriously saved by mysterious something from falling to your doom, and then you meet Shadowheart again.
Yeah, and she's either really pissed or really happy.
Yeah, she's either really happy and thanks you for saving her, or she's really annoyed and she's bashing her little shitty, like, +0 mace on Withers' door. We don't know it's Withers' door until you go in from the other entrance, because you can't open that door except from inside. But
really,
yeah.
I thought you could lockpick it. I've never tried.
Okay.
I've never tried to lockpick it because I've only ever been to that door either from the other side or when I've had 0 lockpicks because I've just started the game.
Yeah. My first playthrough, I didn't find the other entrance, so Withers just showed up at my camp.
I think that happens to a lot of people, to be fair, because if you take like 2 long rests, that's it. He's had enough.
Yeah. he gets bothered and just shows up. But yeah, other ones. Gale is really easy to miss.
I mean, case in point,
just
I did.
A hand in a wall. Yep, ditto. Astarion is very difficult to miss. He is on pretty much the only path forward, and he tries to slit your throat.
Yes and no. Like, there's two routes. If you go that route, he's impossible to miss. If you don't go that route and you don't loop round because you never played a video game before, you could probably miss him.
Yeah, fair enough. Lae'zel is a stone's throw away from Gale's hand.
I kicked myself so hard because I could not believe I missed this. Okay, so the first time I played the game, I had just Shadowheart and Astarion in my party by the time I reached the Tieflings, and I was like, this doesn't feel right. So I didn't want to spoil myself on the game, but I was like, how do you recruit the characters? And it's like, cool, Lae'zel's here. Oh, if you reach the Tiefling camp before doing Lae'zel, she fucks off. So I had to reload my save from when the ship crashed, because I was like, I'm not playing this with a character down, because that seems like a really bad way to play the game.
I think you can get her after you get to the camp. You just have to not do a lot in the camp.
Okay.
And yeah, if you leave her too long, she escapes herself and makes her way to Kithrak Voss.
Most important to note is that if she does escape herself, what you see on the floor is a lot of bloodstains. So guess what happened to her captors?
Yeah. They helpfully provided a soft landing for her. Yeah, let's go with that. Will he has his dynamic entry at defending the gate to the Tiefling Druid Conclave.
Okay, I find this cutscene so funny because it's a cool cutscene, it's awesome, it's epic, and it paints Will in the light that you want to. However, you get to the fight afterwards and he fires off like one Eldritch Blast and then the fight's over.
Yeah, he's like Arms of Hadar, and that's it.
And I'll be honest with you, truth be told, Zevlor does more in this fight than Will does.
Yeah, he does. He rallies everyone. That's all he needs to do.
He rallies everyone, and then he fires off his crossbow, and usually he kills the goblin that Will is fighting.
Yeah. So I recruited Will from here and also had missed other party members, so on my first playthrough it was just Astarion, Chart, and Will for the longest time. I think Will was the one who had to get axed because I wanted to use Karlach.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, you played as a paladin, so I could see you wanting two people who can take a punch, a caster, and, well, Astarion is just great all round because, first of all, he's a sassy bitch, and second of all, he's a rogue, so it should be expected, but I was still so surprised when at level 3 he had plus 11 to sleight of hand.
Yeah, so he's very good at the rogue shit.
Yeah.
And also in this game there is one small change that is enormously impactful. Thief Rogue is good. They give you another bonus action.
I didn't know that. I always made him an assassin.
Yeah, Thief Rogue is bent. It's so much better than the other two, and it's not even close. Just another, at its very most basic, another attack is great on a rogue, because if you missed one of your other ones, having another chance to land your sneak attack that round is great. But, because it's rogue, they've got cunning action, they've got all the other things they can do with the bonus action at will. And it multi-class as well. Apparently Rogue Monk is one of the better combos in this game in particular.
Okay, Rick, maybe that's true. Maybe it is. However, you once said to me there is no downside to giving everyone a pointed monk, so whenever you bring up monk, I kind of tune you out. The monk thing is they've buffed Tavern Brawler to double your strength when using unarmed, and it sounds really simple, but it's incredibly effective. So in the tabletop game, guys, Tavern Brawler is not that good. It gives you It gives you a D6 instead of a D4 on your unarmed attacks or something small and insignificant like that.
It's less than that. It gives you a D4 instead of a D1.
That's it.
So when you crit when you crit with a unarmed attack, Yeah, you get 2d1. Unless you got Tavern Brawler or are a monk or have natural weapons.
Yeah. It's shit, that's all we're saying. Okay, it's shit.
It's not the worst.
It's shit, but I feel like Tavern Brawler, from a roleplay perspective, is a really neat one because I'm biased because I played a drunk dwarf once.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So my Karlak ended up as a monk because, I wanted to do the strong things with the punching and the stuff, and that would be different to a pally, where, apparently Barbarian wasn't different enough because two-handed warrior was something I was already doing.
Yeah, so I very quickly... Okay, I think I told you this already, Rick, but the audience hasn't heard me say this, but I had literally 2 builds on the go at the same time that I just stole from the Storm King's Terror game.
Well, Storm King's Thunder is the name of the campaign. Storm King's Terror is your game's name of it. Yeah.
Right, yeah. I knew I fucked up one of them, but I couldn't remember which is why I corrected myself. But unfortunately, I corrected myself by being incorrect. But yeah, I very quickly turned Lae'zel from Great Weapons into... I gave her a halberd because there's a really cool halberd early on, and I then gave her the spear build from our actual paladin in our game. I don't want to name names just in case. So she's got Sentinel and she's got Polearm Master, and that pretty much solves a lot of problems. And while I have Shadowheart in the party, she got replaced by a character in Act 2, and I won't tell you who, but you can probably guess.
Yep.
Her job was to put up Spiritual Weapon and then cast Spirit Guardians, which is pretty much what you do in our game.
Yep. The only thing I do different to that is that I also have a cantrip that's not in the game, so I've got something to do in my action once I've got Spirit Guardians up and Spiritual Weapon for my bonus action, which in regular D&D, Spiritual Weapon is your bonus action rather than a creature of its own. They had to make a lot of spells into creatures.
Yeah, I did notice that, because in the tabletop game, you just have Spirit Weapon for, X amount of turns, whereas in the... the reason why I know this is because I had to make tokens for everything, and Rick's token doesn't have HP, it's just got the number 10, so it's like it ticks down 1 every turn, something like that. Whereas in the game it has a HP bar, so I was very confused the first time I summoned Spirit Weapon and things were attacking it.
Yeah, it's actually pretty tough as well, so it's a reasonable distraction to have.
It's a great distraction.
But yeah, like things like that, and Flaming Sphere, I think, they're just the ball that rolls around on the ground, that's also got initiative. Familiars technically should have initiative in the game as well, but pretty much everyone runs it the Pathfinder way of uses your actions.
Yeah, the thing that I find a bit weird with the initiative system in this game is it doesn't appear to be using a D20.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
It seems like people with low decks always go last. Like, there's no roll. Like, you can't just roll high, go first this one time. It's like you will always go last. I
mean, there is a roll happening because they make the dice clicky sound, but I don't know what the roll is because you look at the initiative order and it's +1, +2, and then Astarion at +7.
Yeah. Yeah, I went from always going last to always going nearly first when I put the 18 dex gloves on my 8 dex pally.
Ah, clever.
Yeah, I combo that with the medium armor that lets you add all your dex to it. So yeah, that's pretty good overall.
That's fucking busted.
Yeah. So I, as a way to not just have Astarion in every party all the time, I made Lae'zel into a bard and gave her the rogue skills.
Doesn't she have some super cutting words?
Oh, yeah, like, she's really simple about it as well. Like, it's like, you smell like actual dung or something. It's like, yes, she's only learned common recently. So it's actually really endearing to hear her, like, try to be insulting.
I mean...
Because, like, the way that she's insulting normally is by making actual observations and having no filter.
Yeah.
So when she's actually trying, it's kind of endearing because she's not actually that good at it.
Yeah. Apparently a lot of people don't like Lae'zel because of how quote-unquote rude she is, but like you say, I find it incredibly endearing because you can tell very early on she's not being rude for the sake of being rude.
Oh, yes. And as Githyanki goes, she is incredibly lenient. The reason that she's telling you that you have to get to the creche is because it's A, the only way that she knows to be cured, and B, she's letting you in on it. Like, this is something that Githyanki are not meant to do. She likes you and she's trying to do well by you, even if she doesn't show it. Like, this is her way of showing it.
Yeah, when you ask her what the fuck purification means, she goes, by covenant I can say no more.
Yeah.
But,
she tries to invoke this covenant when talking to Kithrak Voss as well, and he's like, dickhead. Because he knows what it means, and he can't exactly just spill the beans in front of all the rest of his subordinates right there. But yes, what I did in that situation was I did the cheese. If you cast command, you can make Kithrak Voss drop his sword, and then you have an endgame sword.
So, what makes it an endgame sword? What bullshit effect has it got? Because that's what I assume it has.
Okay, so for a normal person, it's a +3 greatsword, which is already pretty good.
And for a Githyanki, it has some psionic bullshit, doesn't it?
Yeah. For a Githyanki, it does an extra d6 psionic. You have advantage on all mental saves, and you get a... you know how you get the shield, like the pommel strike once per short rest?
Yes.
The one for that is like Sever Soul.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's something like Sever Soul, but basically it's like cut someone's connection to the astral plane. Yeah, it's rather powerful. So, because Githyanki always come with greatsword proficiency, that means that Lae'zel can use that sword in whatever class she is, which is why I made her into a swords bard, because they get some like mini battle master style maneuvers and have generally good skill proficiency, including 2 expertises. So basically, she is a fighty, frontline, mentally tanky Astarion with some spells that she can just chuck out when she needs to. Normally, it's something like Fairy Fire, because I would like to hit with my Great Weapon Master Greatsword.
Yeah, I'll tell you this, compared to the tabletop, the master skills, or feats rather, feel like they're a lot less effective in the game than they are on the tabletop, because that -5 hits harder, it feels.
Kinda, but it's also a case of, like, you can mitigate it in ways like Fairy Fire and Bless and Prone and what have you. So
okay, but I'm literally responding to you saying I'm using Fairy Fire because I want to actually hit with Great Weapon Master. I'm just saying it feels like Great Weapon Master does feel like a worse skill in the game than it does on the tabletop. That's all I'm saying. We don't need to dive no further.
Yeah. Meanwhile, just the same as in the tabletop, the sharpshooter is just better than Great Weapon Master normally, because you've got the archery style, which gives you a +2 to hit, so that's already mitigated to a degree.
That's assuming you're using someone who has a fighting style.
Yeah, so one of the easiest ways to do that is give some ranger levels to Astarion, and then he's got his main hand crossbow and his offhand hand crossbow. Jesus, try saying that fast.
I mean, I would, but you can't even say it slow.
Like I said, when you're Thief Rogue, you got 2 offhand shots. So yeah, he ends up doing like 40 damage minimum per turn when he hits. So yeah, that's fun. He single-handedly helps me in a fair few of the fights where just something crops up and you need to take care of the thing because it spawns things.
Okay.
But
the first time I encountered this was literally on the mountain pass, and it wasn't so much spawning things as it was bringing things back.
Yes, I wasn't level 7, so I didn't get the benefit to it, but I did get the chance to... Oh no, the things were too strong for me at the time. Okay, so that's why I couldn't do that. Yeah, Oathbreaker has a Dominate Undead thing, where you can just take control of an undead until your next long rest.
Okay.
So I could take the minions, but not it, because it's based on level. Mm-hmm. And that would have been so much easier if one of them was mine. Because there's 2 of them, and they keep resurrecting all their dudes.
Well, the thing that really fucked me off was I got one of them down, and I thought, oh, thank fuck. No, that's against the rules. You shouldn't be able to revive the other reviver.
Yeah, kill the cleric. But yeah, so I didn't do that mountain pass until my second run.
Every subsequent run, I've done it pretty early on. In my first run, I went to the Shadowlands via the Underdark, because that's what Housing kept telling me to do, and then I backtracked.
Yeah, so the the reason that I didn't touch the mountain pass was the first time I touched it, it advanced the world state so that the Druid's Grove was closed.
Yes.
And this was, well, it tells you that the world state will advance, but the cutscene that I got after going into it was Will getting demoned. And so I thought, oh, that's what the world state advancing means. And no, that's just something that happens on a long rest. It just so happened to be that long rest. So I went back to the Druid's Grove and then went, okay, cool, I'm reloading this save. Never touched the zone again. And did the Underdark instead.
The Underdark is absolutely the highlight of the game, but I feel like we should probably talk about the Emerald Grove because we completely skipped over it.
Yeah, so the Emerald Grove has 2 factions and a couple of individuals. One individual, who you can completely skip if you don't walk into her, is Auntie Ethel.
Yeah, I didn't know about this character until like my 4th playthrough. I didn't know you can encounter her before the encounter on the road.
Yeah, so she's kicking around there. She's selling potions and lotions, as she does. And she tells someone, oh yes, there might be some side effects. So she's being upfront about the fact that she's sketch, just not about how sketch she is.
Yeah, but like I feel like that's a really good way of luring people in because like everyone's encountered a right dodgy bastard that's kind of your friend, and they will sell you dodgy shit, but they tell you they're selling you dodgy shit, so you're just like, well, that makes it okay then, right?
Yeah. They told me it was dodgy. Yeah. They told me it was dodgy, so it's on me if I, try to do the thing, and oh no, I sprouted tentacles. So yeah, Auntie Ethel is there, and that's how you're meant to kind of get some kind of rapport with her. So when you run into her on the road, you're kind of expected to maybe take her side, because why would these 2 men be assaulting this sweet old lady? Oh, because I pressed the down button and saw that she had strength 18. I mean, and she was Fey type and level 5.
They're not even assaulting her is the thing. They're just shouting at her. They make no actual aggressive moves. Even when they run off to Auntie Ethel's hideaway, they're just looking for their sister. They don't have weapons drawn. Not that it matters. They got fucking murked. But I tried so hard to save these 2 dumb fucks, and there's just no way you can.
Yeah. Even if you knock them out, they're classed as dead.
That's a big problem I have with this game, because why even have it be a feature? The only time it's worked is during a certain recruitment quest for a certain recruitment person in Chapter 3. You probably know who it is, but I don't want to spoil it for potentially the viewers.
Yeah. So it used to work for Minthara.
Well, that was a bug, though, so it didn't.
Yeah, so they, or rather, it wasn't a bug, but it caused bugs, so they made it not work.
Yeah, well. Minthara really bugs me off, to be honest with you, because there should be a way to recruit her without completely destroying the good and neutral people.
Yeah, I mean, apart from the conversations she has about you killing all the people, all of her conversations, quests, and otherwise content could theoretically apply to a non-evil character, non-evil playthrough.
Yeah, now, don't get me wrong, there's a reason why Drow are ostracized by society, and that's because most of them are just dicks by nature, including Minthara. But I feel like there should be an option to recruit her on a good playthrough. And yes, I am just saying that because I want her on a good playthrough, because yes. I'm not that comfortable with slaughtering children.
Yeah. Oh, Lae'zel has just broken up with my evil character because my evil character wants both Lae'zel and Minthara, and Lae'zel's like, nah, I'm exclusive, and even if you say you want me after going with someone else, I'm still breaking up with you. So okay, I'm a mono Minthara Mancer now. If you are a drow, people in the Grove treat you like shit, and people in the Goblin camp treat you like a king. So it's a real easy choice to do an evil playthrough as a drow.
Yeah. However, who doesn't want to be Drizzt?
Yep.
I can tell you who doesn't want to be Drizzt. Minthara.
Yep.
There's actually a scene later on where I don't want to spoil it because you've not gotten to it, but you can do a thing with your love interest that determines how well you know your love interest. One of the questions for Minthara is what person do you most want to be like, and one of the options is Drizzt, and if you pick it, she just rolls her eyes and goes, who the fuck wants to be like him?
Yeah, the poster boy for the ranger class. Man, I remember in 3rd edition, they even gave rangers beast companions no matter what you were, just because of Dritz.
Every ranger should have a beast companion that is unkillable.
Yeah, and apparently it's Quoth the Raven, usually, but oh well.
I do my damnedest whenever I DM that if someone has an animal companion, to not kill the animal companion before the person controlling it. Sometimes it's unavoidable. If you put your animal companion on the front lines, I'm sorry, all bets are off. But if I can see you're trying to protect your animal companion, I'm not going to be a dick about it, because you can form attachments to your imaginary pets. I know this.
Don't put your animal companion in lightning bolt formation or fireball formation.
Probably best to just not have them on the battlefield, like this dumb nut who got Scratch killed.
Oh yeah, so apparently he does come back. He counts as a normal fine familiar. He just is not summonable for the rest of the day if you get him killed.
Really interesting, because there's dialogue in the game if he's dead.
Okay, you can physically kill him.
Oh.
I think if you try to loot the body of his master without talking to him...
No. After you've already got him in your camp, after you've already got the ball that summons him, there is dialogue for if he dies after that point. Because I've seen the compilation video, and Astarian's is heartbreaking. Because he's breaking down into tears as he's talking. Like, the voice actor, all the voice cast in this game did a good job, but Astarian's going to get extra credit here. Because you can hear his voice cracking as he's going, "Stupid dog." It's really upsetting, because out of all the people, he's the least likely I'd think would be upset, followed closely by Lae'zel, who is also heartbroken about the loss of Scratch, even though she doesn't give a shit about Scratch.
Yeah. yeah. I've not seen these. I'll have to go and check them out, but... So yeah, Scratch is a dog that you can recruit just by going near his former owner and talking to him and giving him your scent. He needs time to grieve because he's currently in denial about his owner being dead.
Yeah, he is. And this is the point in the discussion I'll say, for fuck's sake, have someone in your party at all times who speak to animals.
Yeah, so for me that was, I gave Will the invocation that let you cast it at will. And it reminds me of Pet Pal in Original Sin 2, where it was kind of, you needed someone with that perk because you missed quite a bit of content without it, and that was the same. That was just speak with animals.
I don't think you miss a lot of content. You just miss context. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can still
you miss fun.
You can still get Scratch and the owlbear cub without talk to animals. Except if you talk to animals, they're really fucking cute.
Yes, they are. I mean, the owlbear cub is slightly horrifying, because, first thing he does is eat his mother, but then you talk to him later and he's like, oh yeah, I used to have a brother, my mother ate him.
That's just how owlbears be, man.
Yeah. There's a reason that they're monstrosities and not beasts.
I do find it really funny, your first cutscene with the chicken chaser, and the lady goblin just goes, "Oh, that's our chicken." And the first dialogue option I picked, because it's so funny, because you got the owlbear cub just sitting there like a fucking dog, and I fucking hammered the button to be like, well, first of all, that's not a chicken, that's an owlbear. And the goblin just goes, "Oh, I still got a beak." And it's like, okay, you got me there.
Yeah. Yeah, but so does Sceleritas Fel. He's got a beak. He's got a beak as a nose and also a mouth.
Who the fuck are we on about?
He's the butler for Dark Urge. His nose is a beak, and yet he also has a regular mouth. He's like a weird goblin-hobgoblin hybrid.
Okay, but the goblins don't have access to him.
No. Speaking of another one, speaking of beak, is Karlach talking about the owlbear cub. She just goes, "Oh, look at his little beak." Man, yeah. Actually, we've not even talked about Karlach. She's just kind of out on the road because she's, running from Paladins of Tyr and also Will. And when you recruit her, you basically have to talk Will down if he's with you.
It's not difficult.
Oh, it's not difficult. Because all you have to do is look into her eyes and see that she's, as human as the rest of us. Some might say more so.
It's also not difficult because Will is just a genuinely good guy. And he seems genuinely heartbroken at the choice that he has to make. We don't know he's making a choice at that point. But in hindsight, it's actually really good direction and acting from everyone involved.
Yeah, because Will is sworn to destroy the Heartless as part of his the terms of his pact, and Karlach technically doesn't have a heart.
Yeah, it's one of those where it's something I've always wanted to play with in one of my D&D games. Unfortunately, I've never had a warlock that's played ball, so it's something I've always wanted to do, is having a patron just be a bit of a dick.
Yeah, I mean, if we do another game after Storm Kings, I might take you up on that.
I don't know if it can work in Ravenloft.
Depends who the patron is.
Oh god damn, I am tempted, but we'll not get into that on the podcast.
Yep.
I'll fucking workshop with you off air. But anyone who knows anything about the setting can probably guess what I'm thinking.
Oh yeah, if you're an undead warlock and your patron is Strahd, then you're gonna have a bad time. Yeah, I don't think I pick undead, but yeah. Karlach is an absolute puppy. She's great.
She's a puppy, but she swears like a sailor.
I mean, if you taught a puppy a swear word, you think it wouldn't use it?
Yes, because they're good boys.
But what better way to show that you're a good boy than by using what you've been taught?
Karlach is best girl.
Yeah, absolutely. Hands down. It really annoys me that you can't have her on a bad guy playthrough as your voice of reason, but the real reason that you can't do that is because you kill a bunch of tieflings and she's like, nah, not about that. Best you can do is tell her that it was an accident and persuade her not to try and cave your skull in. And when you try and talk to her after that, she goes, pretty sure I told you to fuck off, mate.
I'm pretty sure you can actually get Karlach on an evil playthrough, just like you can get Will. However, you don't get the satisfaction of I say satisfaction, but I imagine most people doing an evil playthrough will want to actually kill people. But the way to circumnavigate it is you get all the tieflings and the druids killed by doing exactly what you said earlier on, where you take the mountain pass. So the druids end up doing the Rite of Thorns. So the druids live, but the tieflings die on the road. And
if you do that, then you still can't get Minthara because she wants to kill everyone there.
I didn't say you could get Minthara, I just said you could do it on an evil playthrough.
Sure. Yep.
I think you can actually still get Minthara if that's the case, by the way, because as long as you don't kill Minthara, you still meet her in Act 2.
Oh, okay, yeah. So if you agree to help her on the raid...
Okay, but here's the thing.
Then you don't get her.
But you don't do that because you're not going to the Goblin camp either. You're just going straight to the mountain pass. However, that is going to be a hard time for you because you're going to be level 4 and you fight level 6 enemies and you feel that difference.
Yeah, you do. The other thing up in the mountain pass is the Creche, which is...
How the fuck are we talking about this? The Emerald Grove is barely touched still.
Okay, so the big conflict is between the druids who live there and the tieflings who are refugees from Elturel, is it?
Vernus.
Basically well, okay, so they're from a town that fell into Avernus, and for the past few years they've basically been NPCs in the Descent into Avernus campaign that's happened off-screen, and obviously that campaign didn't go well because the player characters didn't redeem Zariel. Yes, the Blood War's been going on, Zariel's still a baddie, and these poor tieflings are fleeing for their lives and have only been able to escape Avernus because of the recent incursion of the Illithids.
Yeah,
so these guys are there, and they're not having a good time.
Yeah, there's a lot just in Emerald Grove. I don't know about you, Rick, but on my first playthrough, I completely missed the Harpies, and I went back to the beach after doing some Underdark stuff because I wanted to pawn a bunch of stuff off, and I just went, oh, there's an area here. Oh, there's a dead tiefling. Oh, I didn't know you could I didn't know you could save that kid because I didn't know that area existed.
Yeah, so the first time I just blundered in, I bumblefucked into a lot of areas. I just blundered into that zone, not knowing that there was something there, and it was a really difficult fight when you're in a town, you think you're safe, and you haven't rested in a while. Because this was before I learned that resting was both really easy and also necessary for plot advancement with your companions.
Yeah, so I don't know if you were like me, but there's two things that held me back on the long rest front. Short rest I was abusing the fuck out of, but long rests, there was two things. One, I wasn't actually sure if there was a time limit or a limited amount of long rests, because a long rest is meant to be a day, so it's meant to happen at the end of the day and transition to a new day, and they're very much harping on about this Rite of Thorns and there's not a lot of time, and I'm like, how many long rests until this just happens, because that feels like the type of thing that might happen. And the second thing
turns out it's what you do rather than how long you take to do it. Someone did 100 long rests and they still don't do it.
It's fucking weird to me. But the second thing was I was treating it like a D&D campaign because I've DM'd D&D campaigns, as you're well aware. I tell you guys off if you try to long rest too much because it breaks the game.
Yes.
However, if you don't long rest frequently in this game, you're gonna have a bad time.
Yeah, you are. It doesn't matter if all you've been through is one major fight. If you're running on empty, just have a sleep.
Yeah. DM in Dungeons Dungeons and Dragon campaigns, there's certain fights where you want the players to be empty.
Yes. I remember going into a final fight once when I was running on empty, and for some reason, I was the only person who managed to survive, and it didn't feel good because I basically didn't contribute other than by looking like a threat and not being one.
That was a great story, Rick.
But
thanks.
Oh well. Yeah. Yeah, like, I could have done so much more if I had my tricks, but oh well. Yeah, the other faction in the Emerald Grove are the Druids. They are a bunch of pricks.
Okay,
they're currently being led by Karga.
They're about 50-50 on the prick front. I don't think you could call Wrath and Co. pricks.
Okay, I think Wrath is, like, the exception. Like, even Nettie, who is...
Oh, I fucking hate her.
Yeah. The best she can do is give you poison and make you swear to kill yourself if you...
Hey, guess what? If you say no, you're not given a choice. You have to murder that bitch. And I'm okay with that because I felt so fucking betrayed in that moment that I didn't even feel bad about killing her. The only thing I felt bad about was I was like, I wonder if this means the Druids are going to hate me now. And the Druids don't even give a fuck.
Yeah. Yeah, if you do anything to slight the Druids when all the Druids can see, then they just go mental and kill all the Tieflings basically behind your back with no way to stop them.
It's one of those where they're assuming you're working on the Tieflings' behest.
Yes, which, again, this is something you can do. If you talk to Zevlor, he basically says, yes, so these Druids need to calm down, and if that means you physically calm them down, then I'm not going to say no.
There's one where you straight up suggest, hey, what if I kill Karga? And Zevlor just goes, no, that would never be my option. But if you're tempted...
However, yeah, he basically says without saying, "Ooh, yes, please."
However, my favourite way to deal with Karga, which I didn't discover until my third opening act, because it is a bit subtle, and if you don't dig, because, again, first playthrough, I was very much trying not to poke the proverbial bear, so I wasn't doing a lot of digging in the actual druid area. On my third playthrough, I went, fuck it, I don't care. And I had a Starian who's really good at sneaking and really good at lockpicking, so it just so happened to fall in line perfectly. And he found a chest, and I was like, this was here the whole time?
Yeah, you don't even have to sneak for that chest. It's so far out of the way that no one ever looks there.
Yes,
so even though it's red.
Yes and no. I always sneak because they can hear it if you don't sneak.
Right.
The lockpicking.
Sure.
Don't ask me how it works, Rick.
It's
just the mechanics of the game. It's dumb.
Yeah, even though it's red, basically you can steal from a lot of druid stuff without any penalty. However, if one of them is watching, then you're in for a bad time. You can pickpocket Wrath, by the way.
Okay.
So the tablet that he gives you after you save everyone from the goblins or whatever, you can just pickpocket it.
Oh yeah,
and go into the secret druid zone.
I've seen a video of, I didn't click it, but it's like, what happens if you pickpocket X from Wrath? And apparently he just goes, I can't find the thing I was going to give to you.
Yeah, a lot of people do that. You can pickpocket quest rewards from a lot of characters.
Which, fair enough. It's a thing you can do on the tabletop.
Yeah. People tend not to try it on the tabletop because on tabletop, all characters are facing all directions at all times.
Yeah.
In the video game, characters look in cones.
Yeah, but also on the tabletop, it really does depend on how funny your DM feels. If your DM is in a good, cheerful mood and they'll think it'll be really funny, they'll probably allow it. If your DM is sick of your shit... It's like, they fucking saw you picking their pocket and there are 10 guards right there. One of them's a Dragonborn and oh my god, is that a Goliath?
Yep.
Just saying, like, you can gauge the reaction of the the feel of the DM. If the DM's had enough of your shit, maybe don't try it. If the DM looks like he's having a good time and the thing you're doing sounds like it might be funny and you're in that type of campaign, then maybe give it a go.
Yeah. So you can out Karga as a shadow druid, and then the other druids are quite happy with you killing her, or, taking her away from the leadership role. But the best way to deal with the druids usually is to go and rescue Halsin, because he is the most reasonable of the druids.
I mean, to be fair, Karga's reasonable as fuck once you, persuade her to stop being evil.
Yeah. And I've said to you enough times, but the listeners might not have heard it. It feels like Karga might have been a better companion to have as playable than even Halsin because of this. Like, you got multiple ways to have her in a state. Either she's been told by Halsin to calm down, or you've told her to calm down.
Well, you got to bear in mind, if you don't out her as a shadow druid, nobody actually knows. So it's
nobody knows.
In that circumstance as well, you pointed it out quite rightly, where it makes perfect sense for her to have joined your party, because Halsin says, you're a novice and new, you need to learn shit. And what better way to learn shit than experience different aspects of nature by going on a bit of an adventure?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Here's a fun one, by the way. If you're a druid, if you play as a druid, I saw this on YouTube in case you're wondering, because I'm saving my druid playthrough for when we eventually can play together, but that's a gripe for a different podcast. If you're a druid and you have animal speak active during the confrontation with the tiefling child, whose name I forget, it begins with an A.
Arabella.
Arabella, that's the one. If you've got speak with animals and you're a druid, you can talk to Tila the snake. If you do it as not a druid, she just goes, I don't listen to you, fuck off. But if you're a druid and you talk to her, she's like super reasonable, the viper I'm talking about now, and she's just like,
yep.
Yeah.
The viper more reasonable than Karga,
yeah. Hatchlings are usually a bit stupid. I will say something to Karga, and that's how the situation gets solved, and it's pretty sweet. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. The snake is reasonable.
Yeah. That's kind of cute, actually. Oh, man. But yeah, once you deal with that, the main way to deal with that, as we said, is getting Halsin. And the way to get Halsin is by killing all 3 of the Goblin camp leaders. You have Priestess Gut, who can brand you with the brand of the Absolute, which sounds like a bad idea, but apparently there's actually no downsides, and it just gives you some bonus effects when you use some pieces of Absolute gear.
Yeah, it gives you some pieces of Absolute gear, and bonus effects do look nice, but again, I know it's a video game and it's not real. I have an attachment to being whole, and it feels like you're getting rid of a part of yourself if you accept the brand.
Speaking of getting rid of a part of yourself, Volo is also in the camp once you get there.
Yeah, okay, and again, I can't remember if I said this, I might have said it on the planning episode, where it really bothered me that the way to get Volo to piss off out of your camp is to accept the eye thing and then stop it halfway through.
Yeah. So you can do that, or you can let someone who you don't care about get the eye thing, I think. You can definitely do that with Anti-Ethel.
Okay, cool. I'd still rather not anyone lose an eye.
Yeah. With Anti-Ethel, there is actually a downside. You can no longer crit. With Volo, it's only benefits. You get permanency invisibility.
Well, yeah, because Volo feels bad.
Yeah. Anti-Ethel does not. Yeah, I didn't know that there was no benefit, but I did know you couldn't crit. So I had Gale do the thing with Anti-Ethel because, he's a wizard. He's never going to crit anyway because he does save or sucks.
How did Gale react to being volunteered for that, or is there no dialogue? It just happens?
Oh, there's no dialogue. Because you're controlling that character at the time, there's no dialogue. It's implied that character is choosing to do so.
I couldn't, fair enough. I couldn't see Gale doing it. And the reason why I say that is because even if I've not used the tadpoles except for on my evil playthrough, but on my evil playthrough, once you've had your first tadpole and nothing bad happens to you, that's when Gale is really up for it.
Yeah. When you, if you encounter her with Gale, he's like, green hag, very powerful. And she goes, oh, thank you, dearie.
Fair enough.
So Gale knows what a green hag is, as you would expect.
Well, it's one of those where, again, I feel like people gloss over it because the dialogues that mention it are usually very quick and they're over with, fast. I think the one that stands out the most, because you have to probe for it, is Will, where he tells you that, I could summon hell beasts and noxious clouds, but this tadpole is weakening me. Everyone in your party is a badass, or was a badass, like proper high level, and the tadpole has fucked with everyone.
Yeah, everyone in your party was the power level as depicted in their Magic the Gathering card before they got tadpoled.
And I was going to actually say as well, that even includes both Tav and the Dark Urge, because they were both badasses. We've got less information on Tav, but it does say in his description, or their description, that they were an adventurer beforehand, so it's easy to make the jump that they could have been level 10 for all you know, and Dark Urge obviously killed a lot of people. So
yeah, if you go by Undertale standards, then that's a lot of XP.
Very good.
Yeah. As you say, with Tav, the Tav's basically the blankest slate there is. But they still have a lot of there's some character implied in the responses that they are a bit of a joker even without charisma. With the Dark Urge, yes, they were a former mass murderer, and it's up to you. That's basically the story, is It's up to you how much you want to embrace that again, or if you want to cure yourself. And there are different things that happen depending on how well you stick to one path or the other.
Yeah, the thing with Dark Urge, which I think I told you, was a lot of the Dark Urge options are as funny as they are horrible, and I can't bring myself to do it. And I felt absolutely awful when I've forgotten her fucking name, the Tiefling Bard.
Alfira.
Yeah, when it's another A name. That's my problem. Names start with the same letter, and there's only 26 of the bastards, so you can see how horrible my life is.
Yeah, they begin in A and they end in A. It's like American states. A lot of them just do.
But yeah, I remember when I started up my Dark Urge sub playthrough, and I was like, oh, I never got this cutscene when Alfira joined the party, and it wasn't until after the sleepy times that I was like, oh, dicks.
Yeah. So there are two ways to change that. One is you knock out Alfira. If you do, then you get a different bard. You get Quill Grootslang.
Yeah, that's fine.
She's a silver...
I've got no attachment to this person. They can fuck off.
The other one is if you knock out your Dark Urge, or kill your Dark Urge. If the Dark Urge is dead by the time you get to that particular night's rest, then Sceleritas Fel comes and does the Dark Urge thing anyway, and tries to frame you for it, and then resurrects you.
Weird.
Yeah. It's basically, you thought you could avoid this. Nah. Alfira is very cute, and she has her own little bit of choreography, and they did motion capture for a dance for a positive resolution to a quest that a lot of people would miss. This is like the Larian way of, they put a lot of work into things that people can just waltz past.
Well, case in point, I don't know if it's been discovered yet, but the voice actor for Astarion did a bit of a playthrough. I don't know how far he's gotten. He did at least one video. I don't know if he's done more now, but he said while playing that there is 2 hours of dialogue. Wait, no, that might be incorrect. An amount of dialogue in a secret cutscene that no one has discovered yet, and Astarion's voice actor and the developers are possibly the only people in the world who know how to activate it.
Yep. There's another one like that with Karlach. Have you seen this one?
So the one where she breaks the fourth wall?
Yeah.
Okay, well that's a yes and a no because they had to use a cheat engine to activate it.
Yeah, so it might be something similar. There's possibly a way to activate that without cheats.
Except everyone...
But we don't know.
Everyone on the record has said, no, that was meant to be cut.
Yeah, people haven't found a way to activate it without cheats, and yet people have seen it now, so it's out there in the universe. It's possible that the Astarion thing is a little bit similar. It's also possible he was talking about things along the lines of the Crash. It's like a 2-hour segment of the game that has voice acting that no one will see unless they do specific things.
Maybe like, so, man. I've not dived too much into it.
A building on him. Like, these aren't his actual words, but basically he responds to it like, the fucking sun! The fucking sun!
Yeah, I know the line you're referring to. Specifically, you have to revive him via rivers. And, Rivers, is that his name?
Yeah, because his body's gone, pretty much.
And the line that you can pick was, I thought the tadpole would protect you. Well, apparently, the limits of protection are somewhere from a lovely day out and the full concentrated power of the sun! That really hurts!
And then he can just go, oh, sorry, and he goes, let's try not to do it again.
Like, there's one of my favourite moments in that clip is there's a part where he, after his little outburst where he composes himself, he does a deep intake of breath and then a sigh, and as he sighs, the ping comes up saying, Astarion disapproves.
You can see it on his face as well. It's great.
But again, like, I don't think it can be understated that the entire voice cast of this game has done a bang-up job in bringing these people to life, these characters. I do think that possibly the standout is Astarion. Yeah,
I think a lot of people agree on that. Like, they want him nominated for a Best Voice Actor award for this year.
And you know what?
Even though a lot of the things were in the early access, which, you know, we could have accessed like the past 3 years or so. But yeah, now is when things are real. Like, Karlach wasn't in the game until like full release, more or less. She was a NPC that got promoted to playable.
Fair enough, man. The weird thing about Astarion's voice actor is I thought the dude looked familiar, but I didn't know why. He had like the smallest role in Detroit Become Human.
All right, okay.
And I was
Neil Newbon, yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's why you look familiar, sir. As an aside, the cast of Baldur's Gate, the main 6 Origin characters, I don't know if they're doing a full campaign or if it was just a throwaway one-shot thing for lols, but they did join one of these D&D. We play D&D on the channel. That's the gimmick of the YouTube show, and they did a D&D game where they played their characters from Baldur's Gate 3, and I'm not watching 2.5 hours of people play D&D. I've gone on record as saying I find watching other people play D&D to be very boring. I like playing it. That being said, I've seen some clips, and these guys are really good at improv.
Yes. Apparently Devora Wild basically started to love D&D the moment that everyone was flailing around, and she just got to, in character as Lae'zel, just start attacking, killing, and just winning because everyone else was being useless. Which is peak D&D.
Yeah.
And pretty much the first thing Shadowheart does is, can I cast guidance?
And then she realises that guidance doesn't work the same way on the tabletop.
I mean, it kind of does. The difference is that in-game, you can do it at any point. On tabletop, it's very obvious that someone is casting guidance, so you're basically putting yourself at a disadvantage because someone is announcing that they are trying to bamboozle you.
Well, it's all skill checks, so yes and no, innit? Because if you use guidance on lockpicking, it's like, if someone can see you, you're doing it wrong anyway.
Yeah, but if you're, like, casting guidance in a conversation, then, like, yeah, okay. You just got guidanced, which means you're either trying to shout at me, bamboozle me, or just straight up lie.
Well, truth be told, if it's
Persuade me or something, yeah.
If it's intimidation, I could kind of see it working, because if you don't know what guidance looks like, and you're just seeing someone cast a spell as someone is looking at you menacingly, that'd probably make me shit myself.
Yeah. Man, I can see guidance being a little bit like bardic inspiration of like going, yeah, fuck them up.
Sure.
Which doesn't really work when you're trying to persuade someone not to kill someone. Yeah, fuck them up.
Guidance is just... it just feels like if you're playing a class, and considering you get 2 druids in the game, it just feels silly not to have someone in the party with guidance. It's a 3+1 at minimum.
Yeah. 2 druids and Shadowheart.
Well, you can't stack it.
Yeah, but like you're probably going to have one of them.
Oh, okay, sorry. I thought you meant... I'm sorry, I did almost a gura in that. I thought you meant, oh yeah, you have 2 druids and Shadowheart in your party, and it's like, that feels unbalanced. But then again, given the nature of the 2 druids you get, it kind of isn't, because Halsin is basically a tank. Let's not beat around the bush. Yeah,
he's a moon druid. He's got balloon animals that are all owlbears. And the other one you get at level 1, so you can level them up as you like, so I made them into a moon druid. But canonically, they're meant to be a land druid.
Which, I gotta be honest with you...
more of a caster.
I gotta be honest with you, at the level you get them, land druid is okay. If you start as land druid, yeah, you've made a mistake, but if you're at the level that, let's just say the name, if you're at the level Jaheira is, she actually gets some good shit from it, so...
Yeah. That said, isn't level 8 also the level that you get owlbear, so...
When Halsin joined my party, he was at a level where he already had owlbear, which, by the way, it should be said, on the tabletop is a homebrew rule, in essence, in that your DM has to agree to it. You can't just do that out the book.
Yeah, it's normally not an option because, you know, they're meant to turn into beasts, and owlbear is a monstrosity. Owlbear is also way stronger than any of the other forms.
Yeah.
Like, it's not even close.
Yeah. Owlbear is so fun to use in game, though, that I kind of like, I understand why they made it just a straight up option in the game, because it's fun. It's fun, fuck you. Mind you, they also play around with it, because I've been told, I've not used Wild Shape as a Moon Druid, but apparently Moon Druid can turn into elementals later on, which is definitely not in the book.
Oh no, that is in the book.
Oh, is it? Okay.
There's like it's one of the things they can just do. It's separate to the beast forms, but it's still in Wild Shape.
Weird.
And yeah, they could just be elementals. It's like, it's pretty good. One of the most optimal things to be. They ping pong between like, okay, you start out and like the bear is the best one, and then you get to a certain point and it's it's the black bear, and then you get to another certain point, it's the elemental, and then 2 levels later, it's back to beasts, and then elemental again.
Well, case in point, I'm pretty sure you guys are level 10 in Storm King, and our druid still regularly turns into a bear.
Yes. Yeah. I think level 10, so you can go into a CR3, but there's not many things that are CR3. I think the only thing is like a giant snake, which I think she's also been.
Yeah, she's been quite... She knows what she's doing. She knows that restricting enemies is really fucking useful.
Yeah, it's good. And yeah, so where were we? I got sidetracked when we were talking about the villains in the Goblin camp. We got Priestess Gut. She takes you off to a side room.
How the fuck did we get so sidetracked from Priestess fucking Gut? She's such a nothing character.
Yeah, she takes you off to a side room, saying, "Oh yeah, I can come and heal you." And then if you go along with her, she puts you in jail.
Okay.
And if you stay in jail, then one of Raphael's minions comes and gets you out.
I was going to say, if you fuck up your check to get out, I was not expecting Raphael to be such a... I know he's angling for us, but I didn't think he was angling for us so hard until that moment.
Yeah. Raphael is also another character worth talking about in that if you know what a Cambion is, they ain't shit. Basically, they're like level 2 half-devils.
Okay, except Raphael is level 13.
Yeah. It's because the half of devil that he is more powerful than just Steve. Steve, the contract devil from accounting.
Yeah. I mean, here's how much of a problem he is. If you have Karlak in your party at that point, even she goes, fuck a Cambion.
Yep. So Cambions have got a big upgrade in this.
Yeah.
Mostly to give to Raphael.
Yeah. I will say this. I don't trust Raphael. Whenever he's on screen, I'm like, I don't trust you. But fuck, do I really, really like you.
Yeah. Yeah, he's nothing if not entertaining and endearing. Like, he sums it up really early on in his encounter of what's better than a devil you don't know, and then he shifts into his devil form. The devil you do.
Yeah, the party has some interesting takes after talking to Raphael. Lae'zel doesn't give a fuck, because she still thinks the Kresh is the best option. Astarion is being Astarion, and he wants power. Will is like, I've dealt with Mizora, this is a bad idea. Shadowheart gives you a quiz. And I like Gale's response the most, because Gale is immediately like, we can fucking use this. We can beat the devil. And one of the options you can put down is like, resource, can we? And Gale's just like, well, we know what he wants, so now we just have to angle it in such a way that, he doesn't take something too drastic from us. And also, it now means we know the tadpoles are really special. So
yeah, absolutely.
Gale is one of the more pragmatic party members, I'll put it that way.
I'd say Astarion is also kind of pragmatic in that way, in that he wants to take advantage of Raphael, not just because he wants what the benefit is, but because he finds the cost acceptable. I think he finds the cost more valuable to lose than whatever he gets out of it. Like, if he has to give up his soul, he's quite happy with that because it means that Cazador don't get it.
Well, it's one of those, when I say pragmatic, I mean, Gale is pragmatic as a whole in that he's taking everything in his stride and he's trying to find solutions. Astarion's pragmatism is a bit different in that he is always looking to grow stronger. In no small part because he does want to be prepared to fight Cazador at some point.
Yeah.
Because he knows Cazador is still after him, especially after you go to the swamp.
A lot of characters are for the greater good. Astarion is for the greater me.
Which I don't blame the man.
No. I got the pure shit conversation today. So, he's been through some stuff. Priestess Gut was one that I actually did manage to knock out. My quest log shows the thing of, being a goblin proved hazardous to her health, and now she's dead. But if I go back there, she's just hanging around in that room because she went down to 1 health, and when I took a long rest, she was just revived. So
that's fucking
she's there,
stupid.
She's alive. Yep.
Mind you, there's a lot of
Draw Ragslin.
I actually kind of like him.
Yeah. So he's possibly the most honest out of 3 of the goblin camp leaders, in that he is just a warrior who wants to do the correct thing as a warrior, which is normally killing other people. But what he needs to do right now is cast Speak with Dead, and he has no aptitude for it.
I do like the question he asks you when you first appear. Have you ever spoken with a dead squid?
Yeah. The goblins really love him as well because, he's their war boss, and they get Volo to sing his praises. So Volo is like coming up on the spot with a ballad about Draw Ragslin.
So I learnt something while doing research for my question, in that Volo isn't actually a bard, he's a wizard.
Yeah.
So
that he acts like a bard.
That explains why he's so shit.
Yeah. Yeah, he acts and dresses like a bard. He's technically a wizard, but, he basically... he wouldn't need potions of invisibility if he was any good as a wizard.
unless he's brewing them himself.
True. In fact, that's the thing you can do. You can brew potions, and if you are a transmutation wizard, you get a chance to brew too.
I'm just saying, I don't think... listen, I did a lot of research on Volo when we were doing Volo's Guide to Monsters, just because I was like on the Wikipedia page for Volo, and I was like, let's have... Oh, wow, he's fucked a lot of women.
Yes.
But he's done so with all of them
amicably,
in that he's not been a dick about it, and he's got good relations with all of them still, despite cheating on them many times. But then again,
he's he's very much a bard in all but name.
I was going to say though, is it cheating if your partner knows you're going out and playing around and doesn't seem to care about it?
Oh, the Leonardo DiCaprio defense of they must know by now.
Okay, but like Volo is legitimately just honest about it.
Yeah.
if you ask Volo, are you fucking so and so, he'll just go yes.
Yeah.
By the by, he even fucks a brass dragon.
Yes. That's how he knows so much about dragons.
Like
he's bedding one, yeah.
By the way, it's not for those of you who don't play D&D. That's not that weird. Dragons take human forms surprisingly often. Human forms.
Metallic dragons do. Yeah, metallic dragons do. Chromatic dragons tend not to because they're too proud to leave their dragon form behind.
Sure. But brass is.
There are a couple of exceptions, but it's brass is obviously on the metallic side.
Again,
so yeah, they're quite happy to take human form.
Again, I will always point to old Norbones who doesn't quite know how to do it or doesn't do it well enough to their standards, so therefore has to watch her shows.
Yeah, she watches telenovelas. Draw Ragslin, I think, was the hardest of the fights in here because he has a lot of minions in that room.
He's also clever. He likes to push.
Yes, he pushes. He has an aura, which just boosts minions in it. I think the easiest way to deal with him is before starting the fight, just surround him in barrels of shit and blow them all up.
I will say this, I do find stuff like that to be so fucking dumb.
Yeah.
Like, the game shouldn't let you.
Yeah, barrelmancy has been a thing since Original Sin, although in that it was normally like a death cloud barrel. So you bring a death fog barrel, and just anything that it touches will die, including you if you're not undead. But oh well, that's a different game.
I was going to say, that's an option in Divinity Sin 2, right? So you can be just an undead.
Yeah. One of the origin characters in that is an undead guy, and if you're creating a rando, you can make any of the regular races undead.
Including the lizard man that looks so fucking horrible.
Hey, the lizard skeleton is actually really good because they get infinite lockpicks from being bony fingers and infinite shovel from having a tail.
I didn't say they weren't good fucking playable wise, I'm just saying I don't think they look good. Like, there's a difference.
Sure, I like fossils, so I like dinosaur skeletons, so the lizard skeleton I think looks cool, but oh well. And then again, you also get immediately attacked if you're not covered head to toe.
Yeah, so I was aware of that. If you go into a city
as a undead. Yeah. After Draw Ragslin is Minthara, and she is rather easy to kill. She only has like 3 or 4 dudes, and I didn't even talk to her the first time I killed her.
If you're not aggressive in this fight, it's very easy for her to kick your ass. You cannot be defensive. You have to go all out. You have to do it fast and quick. Oh, there you go. Hold person. It solves a lot of her problems because that fucking paladin fucking self-heal on its own is annoying.
Yes,
but she also has hold person, Rick.
Yeah,
and it's very hard to break her concentration.
Oh yeah, because of aura of protection. Yeah,
and you can't forcibly move her, so you can't push her.
Yeah, you can't knock her in a pit. You have to do it the old-fashioned way of throw numbers at her until she falls over.
What you can do is, I've seen this done on YouTube again, because I've not done it myself, because I'm not that clever, plus I didn't have a druid at that point, but if you're a druid, you can shape change into a cat, and you can do a meow on the bridge, and that attracts everyone, including Minthara, so you can then just destroy the bridge with her on it, which, at the same time, on one hand, makes the fight very trivial. On the other hand, you also lose the Minthara goodies.
Yes, including her undies. If you didn't know that she was recruitable, this is your hint that she's recruitable because she has the same starting gear that other origin characters have of, named clothing for camp and named undies. I gave her clothing to Karlach because it has a opening down the front so she can still vent heat.
Okay, I like Karlach's original clothing though.
Sure, I get it. And once you dealt with all 3 of those, you got the little bit with Halsin where he's, surrounded by goblins who are throwing stones at him. These are goblin children, but it doesn't matter because they're goblins and they need to go.
Oh, I do. I always do this the
And,
other way around. I don't kill the goblin leaders until I've freed Halsin.
Okay. I mean, yeah, you've got to do it all if you want Halsin. But yeah, I ended up essentially doing this last and then just giving him a pleasant surprise of, oh yeah, they're already dealt with. And what he likes is if you help him while he's a bear, not knowing that he's not just a bear.
Yeah.
Like, he was like, oh, you came to the aid of a random bear. You're a good egg.
You're either very kind and in tune with nature or a madman.
Yeah. Either way, in his words, that's good egg.
Halsin is one of the weirdest characters when it comes to voice, because the actor clearly has recorded in two different spaces, and it's very obvious, because sometimes he sounds very muffled, and sometimes he sounds clear as fuck. So I don't know how old some of these voice lines are that they're using, but they really should have re-recorded half his dialogue.
Yeah, and at this point, it probably needs to be all of it, because it's going to be very obvious that some of it is different to others. Like, yeah, he's the one that is the most jarring out of all of them for when the voice quality changes,
because it changes mid-line.
yeah like he can finish one set of subtitles, go on to the next line of the same conversation, and it changes.
That's why it's so obvious, though, you know.
Yeah.
Other characters may well have the same problem, but because it doesn't happen literally line after line, it goes by completely unnoticed by me.
Yeah, totally. But yeah, he joins your camp, but he doesn't join you properly until Act 2.
Yeah, so in case you didn't know him and Minthara were exclusive, this is another clue.
Mm-hmm.
Case in point, they even take up the same part of the camp, you said.
Yeah, they stand in the same place. So, yeah, that's basically the main reason they didn't want them both in camp at the same time, was because they count that as one of the bugs.
Right. That being said, we do have some hope of either Minthara getting a more in-depth romance, or Minthara potentially being recruited on a good playthrough alongside Halsin, because you sent me a link the other day saying of the voice actress on Twitter saying that she just finished up recording more lines for Minthara.
Yes, she didn't say that it was for Minthara, but she basically has Minthara as a tagline on her Twitter profile, and she said that it was an absolute pleasure recording more lines with a capital A. So yeah, she's basically saying without saying.
Yeah, fingers crossed on that front. Rick, are we going to talk about the party?
Yeah, so there are two parties. One of them is Minthara coming to your party, and you get to have a victory tryst, and then she tries to stab you and murder your entire party to take all the glory. Or you have a more honest one with the tieflings, who are quite happy to not be dead.
The only reason you will ever do the Minthara one
paramour
is if you want to have Minthara as a paramour, because according to you, she doesn't become a legitimate romance option. You just have this one tryst, and that's pretty much it. Apparently she does going into Act 3 now. Oh, okay, cool, because that's what's been holding me back on that playthrough, because that one scene generally won me over to Minthara. First of all, let's just get it out of the way. I'm just going to say it. Minthara's sex scene is the best sex scene, at least as far as that part of the story goes. I'm sure there are better ones later on, or equivalent ones, but like Minthara's one is quite in-depth, probably because it's the only one you get, at least according to every single fucking article ever. But more importantly than that,
these articles that treat the sex scene as the all that romance is.
Yeah, don't.
So they treat Minthara as romanced when, you know, she's just having that moment with you, as opposed to the actual romance, which is the emotional attachment, which only comes later.
Yeah, in Act 2, she straight up says, let's forget that happened. Not so much that I'm not into you, she doesn't say that. She's just like, that wasn't me under my right mind complete. She words it better than I'm wording it. But she says basically, that we'll move on from that, maybe, you know, is basically what she gets at. And I'm like, cool, I want to know how to progress this. And every time I looked it up, it was like, in Act 1, and I'm like, oh fuck, I'm not talking about that. I want to know the romantic fluffy shit.
Yeah.
But again, one of the things that won me over is immediately after the sex scene, you get the cuddling scene with her, and at that point, your artifact has started to affect her, and she's more of her actual own mind, and she's fucking adorable.
Yeah, she is. If you are Dark Urge, this is the chance you get to snap her neck.
I'm aware I got this far with my Dark Urge playthrough before stopping, because I wanted fluffy romance times, and not... This was the first hint I got where I was like, I think Dark Urge is going to make you kill whoever you romance, and I don't know if there's a way to stop stop it.
It's a save.
Okay, fair enough.
Yep. You can save scum it. So, yeah, you can save scum to not kill your romance.
Fair enough. But yeah,
Yep.
I think
So, there we go.
The biggest downside with Minthara is you have to essentially genocide 2 groups of people. And is the Drusy worth it?
And if you're on Dark Urge, probably 3 groups of people.
Who else? What, like the goblins as well?
Last light.
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, but then you don't get Jaheira.
You can. You can tell her it was an accident.
Fuck off. She believes you. It's D&D, don't worry.
So what I actually did for that was I just refused. Okay, it's Act 2, sorry, but I refused to protect the lady who's providing the light to the last light, and then it was counted as not my fault.
That's dumb.
Yeah.
That being
It's
said,
dumb, but it worked.
I had good luck with that fight in that I've done it twice now, and both times I've done fine. Apparently, a lot of people struggle and thought it was unwinnable because of how aggressive the AI one, how aggressive the AI is, and 2, how dumb Isolde is.
Yeah, so Isolde is dumb, and there's a lot of tieflings that are about to get killed by villains, so if you don't deal with that, then you're going to lose some of your tiefling refugees.
I found that the enemies didn't really target those, apart from Roland. They targeted... Oh, actually, one of them targeted Alfira, and Alfira just got knocked out.
Okay.
Don't know why, but whatever. Like I said, I got lucky. I also had Gale, who, if he puts a fireball in that first room on the first turn, it solves most of the issue.
Yeah.
It's really worrying how effective fireball is as a solution in this game. I'll just say it.
Yeah. So the 2 options are Fireball or Shadowheart Spirit Guardians. The difference is with Shadowheart, you have to be there.
Yeah, but I also learned that
With
really
Gale,
quick.
you don't.
So I gave her heavy armor combined with her shield, so she's basically more tanky than my tank.
Yep. Did you also immediately respec her into Live Cleric as soon as you got Withers?
No, I didn't know that was a thing, Rick.
Yep.
I didn't know respecking was a thing in my first playthrough. I didn't know respecking was a thing. I didn't know multiclassing was a thing. It was a bad time. Can you see why I struggled?
On the plus side, most of the characters are generally built to be what they are. Like, they might not be optimized from a neckbeard perspective, but yeah, they're generally built to be what they are.
Yeah, but again, like, the big glaring thing I would have done if I knew multiclassing was a thing was turn Will immediately into a Sorlock.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was the first thing I did with my main character was Pally 2. Okay, after Pally 2, I get Sorcerer 1. Now I am a complete character. The rest of this is just gravy. Yeah, where were we? We were about to go into the Underdark, weren't we? Yeah, There's a few ways into the Underdark.
No. Good party.
Good party. Oh yeah, the good party. Yeah, you get the tieflings, they have a good party. Apparently there is a developer's foresight thing of every single tiefling that can be at the party has a replacement.
Oh.
So if most of the tieflings are dead, potentially from dying in the Goblin assault, someone will take their place so the party isn't a depressing barren wasteland.
That makes sense, because who wants a party and it's just your party and Zevlor?
Yep. No shade on Zevlor, but he does not a party make.
Well, shit, man. Even if you talk to him in the party, he just says, it's so nice to see people smile. And then he tells you to piss off.
Yeah. Yeah, people are smiling. Go have fun. Not with me.
I do like the married couple where the dude just goes,
okay.
Cherie. That means cheers in Infernal, or possibly turnip. And then his wife is like, I want to dance, and then your character smiles, and then she goes, oh no, I need to sit down.
That's about as true to life as it gets in party situations all of the time. Yeah.
Rick, you and I are both pretty open about us liking a bit of romance in our games, so I'll go ahead and ask it. 1, who did you pick first? And 2, if you've picked more than one on multiple playthroughs, who's your favourite scene?
Okay, so my first pick, first and foremost, was Karlach. I think this is the case for everyone in our friend group, except maybe one who, for some reason, doesn't like the way she looked, because he's a coward. And it's one of those, like, I couldn't resist Karlach. On that same playthrough, it was before Gale got hit with the water bottle, and I went through his romance scene, and he took it really hard, to the point that Karlach was basically angling for me to dump her and go with him, and she was really surprised when I did the other way around. So first round, Gale and Karlach, Gale by accident. Second round, Lae'zel and Minthara. And as I mentioned earlier, Lae'zel has now dumped herself because she doesn't want to share at all. Even if I'm choosing her, she's like, well, you made your choice by not choosing to begin with, dickhead.
Yeah, it's very weird, isn't it? Because I think most people are okay with having open relationships with you, assuming the other person isn't an origin character. Because apparently Halsin can make a throuple with you and pretty much anyone.
Yeah, I think Will is happy to go in a throuple with Halsin.
Which is weird, because he constantly says how he cares more about romance than pleasures of the flesh.
Yeah. At one point you can bang Mizora. Will absolutely does not agree to this, but Halsin is like, man, you should have invited me. And Astarion says something similar, but you know that he's not serious because of his attachment issues.
Yeah, the thing with Halsin is he really takes the natural order of things to the next level, in that he's just up for anything. And I imagine he gets it a lot. Have you seen the man?
Yes. You even said to me he has a comment on when you eventually say, you're very big, aren't you? He goes, yes. I've heard that one before. It would surprise me that it took you so long to say it.
Yeah,
because the dude is like, he's like a dwarf with elf ears at elf height. Well, like that's how broad the guy is.
Well, here's the thing: is that you don't even say you're very big. You take it one step further. You say you're very big for a wood elf.
Oh yes, because wood elves are meant to be rather lithe and narrow.
and I remember Halsin's response, because he just says it so jovially, and he just goes, "Am I?"
Yeah,
he's just such a chill dude. Here's the thing: I hadn't seen the bear sex scene until I accidentally stumbled upon a YouTuber who was live streaming it and leaving it up to the audience. And
yes,
oh my god, I didn't expect the squirrel, and it's so funny.
Yes, the squirrel that drops its nut.
There's also a scene...
Oh yeah, speaking of squirrels, did you get the squirrel scene?
I had Talk with Animals on, and yes, I did.
Yeah. Kiara also did this.
Oh,
she kicked the squirrel.
No, I didn't kick him, because I was like, I'm not going to kick a squirrel, that will kill them, and I'm going to assume that's what happens.
It is, and if druids are watching, that can also start the druid war.
That's dumb.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you've got Talk with Animals on when you talk to Alfira, the two squirrels are basically crying because Alfira's such a bad singer.
Yeah, just booing her. Man.
And you can tell Alfira, Alfira that's what they were saying, and she's just like, I thought they were encouraging me. Which I don't blame her, because why would you stay there if you're not liking what's being played?
Yeah, totally. Especially when they've got basically infinite climbing ability, and they can not only run away, they can climb away.
Yeah, man, it's odd.
But yes, question back to you. Who were your romances?
Oh, I picked Karlach on my first playthrough because I saw her and immediately was like, oh my god, I'm in love. And then it turned out she's a puppy, which just combines my two favourite things, big buff muscle girl with adorable puppy personality. As for the best scene, I've already said that I genuinely think Minthara's is the best scene, but discounting her based on reasons, I'd probably say the good scene is probably Lae'zel's, because she's the only one who fucks you on the first night. Out of the girls.
Yeah, I would actually say that, yeah.
Out of the girls, I'm pretty sure Astarion also is happy to bone you on the first night, but I've not actually gone with him.
Apparently he doesn't. So, he doesn't bone you at all if he has his way.
Okay.
He's done enough boning, and he would like there to be an actual attachment.
That's weird, because every time he's come on to me, he talks about having sex.
Yeah, so, have you done... Act 2, but there's one point where he just goes, you couldn't have known I've put up this promiscuous persona.
Well, I've not romanced Astarion, Rick, so...
Yeah, it's not even a romance thing. It's when you get him to do a thing against, well, not so much against his will. You get to persuade him to do a thing, and he's like, I don't blame you for thinking that I would have been up for it.
I've probably not encountered what you're talking about. And also, this is Act 2 talk, so let's go back.
Yep. So I would say yes, Lae'zel is possibly the same idea. Minthara number 1 because more things happen. Lae'zel number 2 because yes, things do happen. I'd say Gale has an interesting one because of it being so different, and if you're into that, then I'm pretty sure that Gale would be a lot atop of a lot of people's lists.
Yeah, I don't know what it is with Gale in that I'm not interested in him remotely, sexually or romantically, but I do think he's my favourite party member.
Sure.
That being said, I am hella curious to see what he does that night, because he's just like, I want to show you some magic. But if you've already spoken to someone, if you've already spoken to someone else and agreed to do something with them, unlike everyone else who still goes for it, he's just like, oh, you've agreed to go with someone else, and that's just fine. And you ask him, what were you going to show me? And he goes, no, I'm not going to tell you.
Yeah, so... Yeah, it works the other way as well. So if he goes, I want to show you a magic trick, and you're like, okay, cool, that sounds awesome. And you talk to someone else, and they're like, oh, it seems you've decided to check up with Gale tonight. I'm like, oh, have I?
Yeah, Gale is, I think even the voice actors acknowledge this as a whole, in that Gale is super horny in the game, and the developers keep saying that he's still bugged in that he's not meant to be that horny.
Yeah, apparently part of the reason why is because you get so much approval with him for following his questline and feeding him items.
Yeah, that makes sense. I was never a dick about it, because I gave him items that were trash, like, here's an amulet that lets you cast dancing lights.
Yeah, here's 2 greens, and maybe if you push me a blue. Yeah, so it was rather subdued because we didn't get to the point where Karlach could actually be intimate by that point, because she doesn't cool down enough for touch until Act 2.
Yeah, but that's okay. I really like that, because contrary to popular belief, I know a lot of gamers are horny as fuck. I get it. I can be horny as fuck too. However, if someone says a romance in a game, you don't need the sex scenes. They're nice to have, but it's nice to have some fucking intimacy built between the two characters. It's why I liked Mass Effect and Dragon Age so much.
Yeah. Like Kelly Chambers, for instance. When you romance Kelly Chambers, you basically don't see anything because nothing really happens. They go for a meal, but it's very obvious that they are very much flirting.
Yeah, I don't think I did anything with Kelly, but yeah, I get you.
Yeah. And yeah, like a lot of things in Mass Effect, it is you do feel a lot of the emotional attachment because the character changes a couple of things that they say based on, you being in a romance with them. And yeah.
And like it's the exact same thing with Karlach can be directly translated to Tali.
Yeah, and it's except it's the other way around. She hurts you rather than you hurting her.
What? Oh yeah,
like
yeah.
With Karlach when she's hot.
Yeah. Sorry, I got you.
When Karlach's too hot to touch, she hurts you. When Tali is normal, like Tali under any circumstance, you hurt her by giving her like every disease under the sun.
Yeah. No, I get what you're saying. I wasn't even talking about that aspect. I just meant you can't do anything physical because bad things happen. And then obviously Tali does it by brute forcing a bunch of preemptive antibiotics, which I'm pretty sure is not how you should handle anything. But it's a space game in space. I don't care.
Yeah. Morden says it's a bad idea, but also like helps her anyway. Yeah. So where were we then? We just had the party. We just had the romance talk.
Yeah, it leaves us with the Creche basically, and the Underdark, and we haven't spoken about Joaquin's Rest yet, or the Knolls.
So yeah, Joaquin's Rest is rather simple. There is a fire going on, started by goblins. There are 2 people to rescue. One of them basically doesn't matter. He's just a guy in a room, and he's lost his wife. The other is a counselor who is a subordinate of Will's father, Duke Ravengard.
And this is how you find out about that connection.
Yeah, and I didn't have Will with me at the time, so it fell to the tadpoles to fill him in, which is thankfully a really useful storytelling mechanic of, oh yeah, if this character wasn't there for what was obviously part of their quest line, then they get your memory of it, they shout at you a little bit for not them being there, and then they move on with their lives as if they were there for the quest.
Yeah, except Will doesn't really have the right, and nor does he shout at you for not bringing him because you had no way of knowing.
Oh yeah, he even says that. He goes, "Oh, you had no way of knowing. Still, I wish I'd have been there. But now, yeah, can we put this in the book, please?"
It's even funnier as well because you can then have a go at Will for not telling you in the first place.
Yes, you can put him not telling you that he's a noble in the same basket as not telling you that he has an infernal devil contract.
Yeah.
But
yeah, apart from Joaquin's Rest, you've also got the Knoll encounter, as well as the quote-unquote Paladins of Tyr, which they're not, but...
Yeah. Although the sword that the leader has does have a Tyr cantrip.
Yeah, but it's implied that they killed them and just took it.
which is why he's so happy to give it to you if you bring him Karlach's head.
Which you shouldn't do.
I also couldn't do. The one time I did kill her, which I reloaded because I didn't like it, apparently I burnt her to flames and couldn't bring her I couldn't bring an intact enough head, so it didn't even give me the option.
That's baffling. I don't like that. I don't like that you can turn on party members, because you can do it on Astarion as well, early on with the monster.
Yeah, you can stake him.
No.
You can also stake him when he bites you.
No, I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about specifically handing him over to the monster hunter.
Oh yeah, if you do, then he just shows up in Act 3 as a thrall.
Okay. But yeah, like in between that, you've got the Gnoll section, which feels really ham-fisted in, but at the same time, that's kind of what happens in D&D games, in that we need a random encounter. Gnolls exist.
Yeah, they have a second part of that, because you do get directed to it by the guy at the Emerald Grove gate.
Do you?
The one who is like, open the gate, and nearly gets a bunch of people killed, or does get at least one person killed.
Hey, I don't remember him talking about Gnolls. I thought he'd said, all he told me was, we were here for the Night Song relic in the Goblin camp and we fucked up.
Yeah, but he also talks about a shipment.
I didn't get
so
that
he talks
dialogue.
about this lost. Okay, he talks about a lost shipment, and that directs you to the two Zentarim agents who are hiding from the Gnolls.
Yeah, I've only ever done this encounter randomly. I've never been pointed towards it.
Yeah, so those quests mesh up, and you can then, depending on which direction you do the Gnolls from, you get different outcomes. Like I did it first time from the Zentarim side, and didn't get the option to dominate the Flind.
Yeah, okay.
Second time I did it from the other way, and did get the option.
Yeah, absolute same scenario here. It is borderline impossible to keep those two alive if you fucking jump into the cave from the back. Like,
yeah, because the Gnolls shoot the bottles of alchemist fire, which all explode, and like, good luck.
Yeah, it's not happening. If you come from the other direction, which I've done in every subsequent playthrough because it is much easier, the two Zetarim agents bow out the fight entirely.
Yeah, the only way to interact with them after that is telling the Gnolls to go and eat them.
Which I did by accident, because I didn't realise that's the option I was picking, because it was worded just vague enough.
Yep. And then you can get the Flinge to turn on the rest of its Gnolls, and then to eat itself. Yeah,
so for this fight, they've allegedly patched this now, but because the second time I took on this fight was, I had some knowledge that the fight was actually difficult, I summoned the trolls, and before they patched it out, if the trolls survived the encounter, the Zetarim agents would then become hostile to you because there were trolls. They're not trolls, they're ogres, my apologies.
Yeah, ogres, yeah.
But yeah, they've since patched this out and fixed it so that now, if you have NPCs, they don't go hostile after a fight with the ogres.
Yeah, one of the ogres famously has a headband of intellect.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
He's not wearing it, he ate it.
I didn't know that. I've learnt that from listening to you guys. Because I never bothered dealing with the trolls. I didn't even mercenary them. I was just like, alright, live and let live, bros.
Yep, so what you can do, you can kill him for it, or if you get the horn, if he dies in combat, you can take it off him.
I mean, same difference, really.
And it's a warped headband of intellect. It sets you to 17 instead of 19 intelligence, which is not great, because people who want intelligence probably already have it. But I don't have anything better to put on my 8 intelligence pally, so I put it in the head slot, and now they're better at knowledge skills.
So you've given them the dex and the intelligence bonus.
Yep. The only thing they have shit now is wisdom.
The fuck do you use
Everything
wisdom
else
for?
is like 6 wisdom saves, and they're proficient in those. So yeah, it's perception as well, I guess. So yeah, the only stat they have less than 16 now is wisdom.
Sure.
Yeah, main character syndrome.
Like, for real with you. Alright, Rick, I'm going to call an audible because we're on 2 hours and 10 minutes. I'm going to say we should talk about Ethel's area, and we should avoid the Underdark / Grimforge and tack that onto Act 2, even though it's Act 1.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
The Underdark...
The Kresh and the Underdark.
Yeah, the Kresh and the Underdark guys are big areas, and we're going to want to talk a lot. Case in point, we've spoken for 2 hours about everything else. So we might even have the... You know what? I think what we're going to do, and yes, this is us calling it on the fly because we've got nothing better to do. We'll have this go up as Act 1, and I think we should make the Underdark and the Kresh its own podcast and have that be like Act 1.5.
I'm fine taking it into Act 2 because there's not as much in Act 2, I don't think.
You say that, but the way we waffle and the way we've gone on tangents, I think we do have enough. Especially seeing as there's a bit of Act 3. Sorry, there's the tail end of Act 2 feels like it's the beginning of Act 3, but it's not.
Sure. Okay, well, we'll burn that bridge when we come to it. Yeah, Auntie Ethel. You find her chatting to those two lads, and if you walk a little bit further, there's like a DC 20 perception check to see that, this idyllic-looking beach cottage is actually a fucking stinking swamp.
If you're a ranger, you get a special check, which is a survival check with advantage.
Yeah, fair enough.
I don't know what the I don't know what the DC is for it. I can't remember. It's been a while, but you do get there are ways to have easier checks.
Yep. You skip this check if you come up through the backside of the Underdark.
Makes sense.
There's a mushroom circle that sends you up to Auntie Ethel, and if you take that, then it's already revealed as swamp.
Fair enough.
But yes, there's a bunch of sheep roaming around. They're not sheep, they're redcaps.
Dude, have you ever spoken to them as sheep? They're so funny.
No.
Okay, you talk
to... okay. Yeah, I think I know about this, though. If you got the animal speaking on, they just go bar, don't they?
They go bar, but they do it in a really bad way. They're like, boah. And you're like, are you trying to say bar? And then they ignore you.
Moo, by the way.
But if you uncover the secret and you can see them as blood caps, they still think you're under the illusion, so they still only say bar.
Yup. Just a slight tangent though. There's the strange ox in the Emerald Grove as well. He's super sketch. I thought he was a dude. Turns out he's even worse.
Yeah, I found. Oh, fuck! I gotta tell you this story because it made me laugh. I had on one of my secondary playthroughs, Karlak was the wild magic barbarian, and I did the encounter in Act 2 where you find out what that thing is. And again, I won't spoil it for people because it's not relevant to the story yet. But what happened was during her wild magic surge, she got the thing that was like a 6-meter radius and attacked everyone and gave her temporary hit points based on how much damage she did, which is great. However, Damon is in that radius, and he then immediately became hostile. Yes. And I was like, fuck! And had to reload the save, and I was like, I can't rage as Karlak in this fight.
Yeah, one of the new bugs is that he will immediately aggro Damon.
Okay.
And unless you go to extreme lengths and borderline exploits of being able to get to him and deal with him, he will kill Damon.
Oh, you mean
that's something
like as soon as you enter the area that happens, you don't have to do dialogue or nothing?
Yeah, that's a current bug.
Oh, that's
a
fucked.
new bug.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah, clearly, because I didn't encounter that on my second... Well, I didn't even talk to the fucking strange cow on that playthrough. I was just like, I'm going to leave it alone.
Yep. But yeah, back to Auntie Ethel. She is currently hosting a young woman named Mayrina who is heavy with child. She's force feeding her because, she wants the child to grow up strong before it's born, because she's going to eat the child and turn it into a hag.
They didn't say she was going to eat the child, but
it's what hags do. Like Mayrina was led to believe that Ethel would raise the child and teach it magic. By the wording, Ethel doesn't say that it was that child that she was going to raise and teach magic.
But on the same, the same token, Mayrina is very, 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 very simple.
Yes, she's very emotionally damaged. She's basically trading the life of an unborn child for the resurrection of her husband. And you can find the wand that Ethel planned to give her as part of this bargain. Ethel honors her bargains in a corrupt genie way, and the way that this would be is just by creating a zombie out of the guy.
You don't even need to
keep this zombie if you're an arsehole.
You don't need to say in an arsehole genie way, because at the end of the day, hags are technically fae, and fae are notorious for being quite literal with their bargains.
Yeah. Even in things that you don't know all the implications for, like names. Will you give me your name? Is a standard fae thing.
Yeah.
And if you do, then they have your name. Like, and they keep it. Like, you don't have your name anymore.
It's dumb. I hate it, but I get why DMs like pulling that shit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Ethel has a couple of things. She's got a couple of people in her basement who she's made bargains with and basically kept.
Yeah, she calls it her playroom.
There's a guy who's turned to stone to stop a sickness, which, he didn't even have. There's a guy who sees the future, but all he sees is too far when he's dead and bones. And there's a guy who has been turned into a wall, and for every person that he lets through, she adds another decade to his tenure of service. And then there's a bunch of unwilling participants who have all got masks on, who have all been dominated by Ethel.
I hate this room so much because there's no real way to save these people. Apparently the way to do it is you have to beast Ethel in her cottage and kill her before she runs away.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
would be easier if she didn't immediately turn invisible, which may be an argument for having
the Volo Eye.
Yeah, so the only way I can think of to do it if you don't have the Volo Eye is to hope Gale goes first so he can cast an AoE spell on the spot she's in, because she doesn't actually move from that spot, she just turns invisible. Maybe on Tactician she does move, which would make sense. So yeah, she then becomes visible, and then have another spellcaster who has Hold Person to Hold Person her. Hope she doesn't make the save, because she's got high enough save that there's a good possibility it don't work, and then wail on her.
There's a slight flaw with that plan.
Go on.
Hold Person. She's not a person, she's a fae.
I've been told Hold Person works on her.
Does it? Okay.
I've not tried it. I'm just saying what I've been told.
Yeah, the reason non-humanoid player characters are powerful is because they're immune to Hold Person.
Yeah, but as a DM, I'd say, no, I'm not playing that shit.
Yeah, so if you want to play as a satyr, yeah, you count as a humanoid as well.
If you
Just for this.
Because almost every single spell an enemy gets, it specifies humanoid. So,
yeah,
you know.
like your raised deads and all that.
So it's like, nah, fuck you for the purpose of this. But the difference here is that I would be honest about that during session 0. So if the only reason you're playing as a fucking, I don't know, a fae is so you get immunity to Hold Person, I'd be like, well, just so you know, you still count as a humanoid for the purpose of spells, because that's how I play. You don't like that? That's fine. We're going to just have to disagree on that point. If you're playing at my table, that's the rule. And I've been honest about that.
Yeah. It's normally a pretty fair way of, if you have a different type, then you also have humanoid, and you get both benefits and both disadvantages.
Oh yeah, don't get me wrong.
It's not normally very...
if there's disadvantages that level up or outweigh the advantages, I'll just be like, fine, whatever. I'll hand wave it. I'll hand wave it by having...
Undead.
Well, yeah, there you go. That's you got more than enough drawbacks that I'm happy for you to be immune to spells that target, exclusively living things.
Yeah. And the last bit of Ethel's dungeon is she sets Mayrina's cage on fire and puts you on a timer. You have to find a way to put that fire out or kill her in time, and even if you kill her in time and don't put the fire out, she still dies.
Yeah.
So, yeah, basically bring someone with a bottle of water or ray of frost or create water.
I was going to say, Gale is pretty much a permanent fixture in my party, so this was a real no-brainer.
Yeah. My Pally sorcerer had Ray of Frost. That was the first thing I did.
Fair enough.
When I did it again, I didn't have that, so I just had Shadowheart prepare, create, destroy water, and just made it rain.
So I did prepare. I did create water in Rakine's Rest. So that I didn't have to jump over a patch of fire. Created steam.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which boils you.
Yeah. So that plan didn't work, and I was like, well, I feel really cheated, but okay.
Sure, yeah. Well, at least Steam actually does a thing. Like, yes, it boils you. It also counts as, visual cover as well.
Yeah. I really liked Ethel's fight because she fought like a hag.
Yeah, she split herself up multiple times.
I had a bit of an unfair advantage during this moment and when she turns herself into Mayrina because Gale had Rich Bolt active.
Yeah, that's a really good one. So when she splits herself up, the Witch Bolt just anchors onto the real one.
Yeah.
Apparently Hunter's Mark works for this as well. You can check the Hunter's Mark debuff, and it applies to the one that you're actually Hunter's Marking.
Very good.
Which is very on brand as well. That's what Hunter's Mark is.
That being said, I always aim an attack at the other two as well because they still pack the same punch as Ethel.
Oh yeah.
They do. The thing that bugs me the most, and I'm sure it's done on purpose because Ethel's a bastard, is when you attack the fake ones, even when you already attacked her real one, she laughs and taunts you for being an idiot, and I'm like, no, I'm doing it on purpose.
Yep. Man, I wish I had magic missile for that because, just being able to pop all these Ethel balloons in one ping.
Yeah, tasty.
Would have been great. Yeah. But yeah, she does that. If you put the fire out in Mayrina's cage, she then treats Mayrina as a distraction target, teleports her out, and turns into a Mayrina copy. So then you have to find out which one's the real Mayrina and attack the other ones.
Okay, here's a fun fact for you, Rick. Again, I got saved this issue from Witch's Bolt, so I just already knew. If you examine the
one that's not pregnant is Ethel.
Oh, I didn't even check that. No, I was going to say the one that's Ethel still has her armor class.
Okay, that too. But yeah, if you inspect them, the one that's the real Mayrina is very obviously still pregnant, and the one that's not Mayrina is not.
I didn't. Again, I just looked at the AC.
Like, these are just little tricks that, like, some of them are unintentional, like Witch Bolt, and some of them are just like little cues, like the obviously pregnant or not, and some of them are the interface. Oh yeah, her AC.
Yeah, I found.
I like how there's always things like this for you to be able to divine things out of.
Late Act 1, 2, and onwards, I started really abusing the examine. Basically, once I learned that you could examine people, I abused the fuck out of that during combat.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, at the back of Ethel's house, you've got a bunch of unique potions. I don't know what any of them fucking do.
They're worthless.
Yeah, I assumed so.
They're for flavour entirely.
By the way, have you tried sharing potions?
What does that mean?
Group people together and throw potion on ground. They all get the potion.
Oh no, I've not. I've thrown potions at people to heal them from afar before. I didn't realise that there was a big enough splash that you could do it to multiple.
The splash is about half the size that it says it is, so group them really well and hope you don't hit someone in the arm while you're throwing it. But yeah, you can share potions by doing that way.
Fair enough, didn't know that.
It's especially good for things like if you know you're going to get into a fight and you don't mind starting in fireball formation, you can start with like a potion of speed.
Here's the thing. By the time Fireball is a realistic threat, I have Counterspell.
Yeah.
And I am more than willing to burn a Counterspell charge to avoid 3 people getting hit by a Fireball.
Yeah. Man, sorry. I'll save this for next time. What else were we going to do in this episode? I think that's enough talking, really.
We should probably talk about the final... we touched upon it a little bit, but the final outcome of this quest, in that, yes, you do find Ethel's wand.
Yeah, you get the choice of letting her see the folly of trusting Ethel by resurrecting her husband with the wand, telling her that you have the wand that will resurrect her husband and breaking it over your knee in front of her, or just letting her grieve.
Yeah, I can't remember which oath it is, Rick, but you've told me that if you resurrect the husband, regardless of what you do afterwards, it counts as an oath break for one of the oaths.
I think it's Oath of the Ancients, yeah. Actually, I think another one is if you make any kind of bargain with her, it breaks most oaths.
Makes sense for vengeance, for that to break your oath, because you're pretty much like, I will avenge XYZ. Oh, but you're going to give me some hair to munch on.
Yeah, you let a villain go, willingly. Like, I let her go. I intimidated her into both benefits, one to keep Mayrina, one to get the hair, and she called me a greedy little bollocks and then disappeared.
Something interesting, by the way, in the game is, I don't know if there's something you have to do specifically, but there's a real 50-50 on when you kill NPCs that are also traders, whether or not you get their trade stock. Because I've fought Ethel about 5 times now, and on 2 occasions she's dropped a shit ton of gold and potions. On the other 3 she hasn't. So I don't know what makes the change happen.
You might have to trade with them to activate their inventory.
I don't think that's correct, because the same when I killed a goblin trader after aggroing the goblins, he doesn't drop his stock ever.
Yeah. I think they have a rarity threshold. Anything that's below that threshold just doesn't get turned into gear.
Okay,
but
again,
if a trader has a legendary, like, they'll probably still have it on their body when they drop it.
But again, it's weird with Ethel.
They also have legendaries that you sell to them.
Okay, but
so if you sell like high tier stuff, they have it on their corpse.
Okay, but again, not what I'm talking about. I'm
sure.
talking about specifically
Ethel,
and the Goblin Trader just never drops anything. He just drops standard Goblin gear. Ethel, it's been a kind of a 50-50 on whether or not she drops a shit ton of gold and a bunch of potions, or just her regular stock, or regular drops. So
yeah, I got a halfway house with the Order of Brilliance trader in the Mountain Pass, where I got like 3 of the things that were in her stock as drops, and the rest of it just vanished into the ether.
Yeah, I think those things are standard drops, so much so that I thought she was a monk after I killed her, because it was all monk gear.
Yeah.
It wasn't until a subsequent playthrough that I realised you could just trade with her.
Yeah, she's where you get the +2 dex thing from.
Oh yeah, I didn't get that in my first playthrough.
The good old Cat's Grace dex robe.
Which is almost immediately outshadowed by the ball one you can buy in Chapter 2, but that's for a later day. As we touched upon earlier, we were going to do all of Act 1. This won't come across when you listen to this podcast, but before editing, it's 2.5 hours long.
Yes. We're going to leave the 2 routes to Act 2 for the next podcast.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I guess it's time for the final 3. So from parts of Act 1 that we have covered so far, what is your favourite moment?
Minthara's intimacy scene.
Sure, sure. Yeah, going straight for it, absolutely, yeah.
Well, it's the best sex scene, and quite frankly, it's the best cuddle scene afterwards. And honestly, everything from that point, because Minthara fucks off afterwards immediately. You don't see her again until Act 2, and I'll talk about that when we talk about Act 2. But it's the first hints you get that there's a bit more to her, which is why I really wish there was a way to recruit her and not be a complete dick.
I mean, absolutely.
Again, there kind of is, but even if you're being a dick without directly bloodying your hands, you're still being a dick. You're making that decision as a player, not so much in character, but yeah. What about you, Rick? What's your favourite moment?
You might shout at me for having having talked about it, but it is actually the anti-Ethel fight. Like, as you said, this is possibly the most true to form hag fight that you can have, and I don't think there are many fights that are as in-depth or as smart feeling, especially without the finale of she surrenders at the end saying, yeah, I always find a way to come back, but it's a bother, so yeah, here's a deal.
I'll be absolutely honest with you, Rick. I'm struggling to think of a fight in Act 1 that I enjoyed more than Ethel.
Yeah. Like, she springs multiple mid-combat puzzles on you, not least, are you going to let Mayrina burn?
Yeah. There is a fight in the Underdark, which I think might be close, but even then I don't think it beats it. But we'll talk about that another day.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's the anti-Ethel fight encounter and general ambiance. So, we can't always talk about the best stuff. We sometimes have to talk about the not-so-good. What would you say is the weakest link?
I'm going to steal yours, Rick. In that I've already bitched enough about Minthara not being recruitable on a good playthrough, more or less. There's ways, but yeah. So I won't harp on about that. What I will harp on about is, I think you've hit the nail on the head. Karga would have been a great party member.
Yeah. I also think that Jaheira could have been a ranger, but oh well.
Well, Jaheira's
looks like one.
Jaheira's a druid because she was a druid in the old games.
Yeah, true. But yeah, Karga should have been recruitable, I believe.
But yeah, what about you, dude?
I'm going to flip it. I'm going to say that Minthara should have been more of a character for non-evil players. That everything she does meshes almost perfectly with any party. She's no more evil than Lae'zel. She's definitely less evil than Astarion.
Like, there's a line you can say in Act 2, and I know we keep breaching that wall, where when you recruit her, everyone has words. Astarion's the only one who outright complains, and one of the retorts you have for him is just, what, are you bothered you're no longer the most threatening person at camp?
Yeah, it's and that's also a rich line coming from a Dark Urge. But yeah. So, yeah, we really should have been able to just not murder her. And like, part of this blame lies with Halsin being so gung-ho about killing everyone in the Goblin camp at that point.
Yeah, again, I think there's a real easy way to get around this, because housing can be reasoned with.
Yeah.
And there's points later on in the game where you can reduce someone to 0 HP or get low in health, like with Ethel, and a cutscene plays. And it would be very trivial for them to just have a line of dialogue with Minthara where her mind suddenly gets unclouded because you have the artifact on you, you have to, and she just goes, I don't really know what's going on.
Yeah. Like, she knows, but like, having a moment of clarity is kind of like, it's the cornerstone of her face turn, and that it normally happens in the cuddle moment. But having it in combat is also just as pertinent.
And yes, I am being biased as fuck, because again, what little I've seen of Minthara, she's enough of a grizzled veteran badass with a touch of sweet.
Yeah. So now we're gonna go into the final one. Who's your MVP?
It's a fucking tough one, man, because it's so tempting to just coward and bitch out and say the whole team, because the game is a masterpiece, and I will be shocked if it doesn't get Game of the Year.
Yeah.
But
it's a tough year to get it as well, because Starfield isn't exactly well received right now, but the awards tend to give things like that to Bethesda games, and we've had FF16, and like, people who've played both just prefer Baldur's Gate 3.
I mean, I've played both, Rick, and I think FF16 is an astounding game. It's a toss-up. I could see FF16 getting Game of the Year. I'd personally give it to Baldur's Gate 3, but I don't think Baldur's Gate 3 would have been hard done by if 16 edges them out. It's much like with Elden Ring and God of War. I don't think either fandom should have been bothered if they lost to the other because they were both fucking masterclasses.
Yeah. I think the reason that I would give it to Baldur's Gate 3 is the same reason that I would give it to Elden Ring, in that people can play it.
Sure.
PlayStation 5s, yes, they are now available, but still, basically, nobody has one.
If you say so, man. Like, again, you and I have different reactions, different points of view on this, because I play a lot on console, so I have a lot of friends on console. So to me, everyone plays it.
Sure.
But I respect that if you're not on it. I get it, man. But yeah, I'm not gonna be a coward and just say everyone did a good job, everyone deserves a big tick. If everyone wins, then no one wins. I'm going to give it to Gale, because as I touched upon earlier, Gale is hands down my favourite companion in the game.
Hands down.
Sure.
Darko's joke.
Sure.
I've literally still got his hand in my inventory. It's great.
But even if you're a dick to Gale takes it in stride, and he dishes as much as you dish on him. Conversely, if you're a bro, he fucking is immensely thankful that you're a bro. Especially when you stick up for him when Lae'zel picks on him for being a bum.
I like that. I love that turn of phrase.
Well, you know, when he does that big revelation, I just so happened to have Lae'zel in the party, and she was like, "Chick, you were the biggest threat to us this entire time." And Gale does those sad puppy eyes. Meanwhile, if you had Karlach in the party, Karlach's like, I kind of get it.
Yeah, don't get them together. She might light his fuse.
It's not a million miles away from the truth. If Astarion bites Gale or bites Karlach, he immediately recoils and spits.
Yeah, and Karlach goes, "What the fuck were you expecting, knobhead?" Because he starts taking fire damage because her blood's on fire.
and Gale laughs.
Yeah,
it just goes, "That'll teach you for sticking your mouth where it don't belong." But yeah, I just like Gale. Every time he pipes up in conversation, he is nothing but helpful. I find it hard to think anyone dislikes Gale, apart from the obvious problem of him being very fucking horny all the time. That is a drawback, but the developers have already said that he's not meant to be that horny, so I get it. Yeah, legitimately tough, because, you know, you could give the MVP award to any of the Act 1 party members. There's so many supporting characters who deserve it. The actors deserve it. The developers deserve it. Everyone could get this award, and I don't think you'd be hard done by. And yes, I am putting a lot of fucking emphasis on our MVP award as if it means anything. Rick, how about you?
So, my problem is I've got two to pick from. Number one is, by literal definition of the word, would be Shadowheart, because she props up so many early parties just by being the healer. And also, you know, having the artifact and just basically binding the party together in a way that only Shadowheart can. Even if you get her out of your party and refuse to recruit her, she shows up when you need the artifact.
That's fucking weird, but I suppose it would have to be. Damn, really? I never even considered not recruiting her, because she's just there.
Yeah, she's right there, and she's a healer, and you probably had her about 5 minutes ago. However, beyond Shadowheart, I'm giving it to Amelia Tyler, the narrator, because no matter who you've got in your party, you've always got the narrator, and she's always there to lend just that little bit of information, but also humor in that kind of dry way that she delivers the lines.
I think it does her immense credit that very early on, she gets a voice line, which she fucking nailed, by the way, of when you encounter the dying Mind Flayer, and she's doing the narration of what you feel, and then you feel compassion, and then 2 seconds later, compassion. She just fucking nails it. It's great. That's a very early example of the skill that she brings to the craft, and she maintains it throughout. Like, she's never this is also partly on the writing, not just her, but whenever the narration pops up, it's never intrusive. It always feels natural, and that's in no small part thanks to her voice.
Yes, absolutely. I liked her in other things that she's in as well.
I'm not familiar with her work, so
she's Malady in Original Sin 2, which is she's not really the DM, but like she's like a DMPC in that game. And yeah, she can die, but yeah, she's kind of like the one that you go to end Act 1, and then she's like the one who essentially drives your boat for the rest of the game. Yeah, she's important in that game. And I also really enjoy her outtakes on YouTube.
I've still not seen that, but some of the ones you've referenced have sounded quite funny.
Yeah, like sometimes he just breaks down and just starts laughing, or and even says like, "I got through that without snorting. I deserve a cookie," or things like that, and or "I've never read this word before." Doo-da, doo-da.
Yeah, but like stuff like that really makes me laugh because it always reminds me of the classic at this point Thundercats bloopers where you have Lion-O just going, "Oh fuck, here's that fucking word again."
Or even the Mark Hamill thing of he refused to do a line. He learnt it perfectly, and he can recite it on command. And Harrison Ford came to his defense saying, "George, you can write this shit, but you can't fucking say it."
Oh, yeah. I saw an interview where, by the way, I was also blown away because I'm so not used to Mark Hamill being 12.
Yes.
Where he recites the line from heart, from memory, which is just like, George, this is shit.
Yeah, it's like 100 words in what's meant to be one line.
Yeah.
And you can sometimes you can write things and it's full of proper nouns and it's impenetrable to someone who's not already like neck deep in the fandom. And she even brings that up in one of the outtakes of I'll just pronounce this how I want. D&D fans have never gotten salty about that, have they? That's never been something that's happened.
But yeah, going back to the George Lucas thing, and yes, this is a tangent, I apologise. It's so weird that he wrote that with so many nouns and stuff and basically gibberish to anyone who was, it was the first fucking movie at the time, so it would have been gibberish. It's weird that he wrote that to do a bunch of exposition and then cut to his intro of Darth Vader and Mark Hamill on set being like, so are they going to just be like, oh, that's the evil emperor, the evil Lord of the Sith, Darth Vader, blah, blah, blah. And George just goes, no, he's just going to stand there and look menacing. Like, how the fuck can the same person make both decisions?
Well, because in one hand he's writing it down, on the other hand he's being asked by a person.
Yeah, okay, fair.
It's difficult to tell a person a thing that you want. It's very easy to write down what you want and then go tee-hee while people read it.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think that's about it from us today. If you liked the episode, as long as it was, bye. If you got it this far, then, as always, you are our favourite people. If you liked it, got the comment section down below on YouTube. If you're listening via one of the many audio platforms, you can instead send us an email with your suggestions, hopes and dreams. And where would that go to?
Faerun? nonsensereviewuk@gmail.com. That's again, fuck. It's staying in because I don't edit these. nonsensereviewuk@gmail.com.
Yeah. So, it's going to be a goodbye from me until next time.
Bye!